I cannot become stronger. Talent, luck, and money are things I lack, and I am painfully ordinary, or perhaps even lesser. Yet as my master once said, strength is not the only path to victory. If I cannot surpass my enemy, then I must simply weaken them more than myself. Smirk, our protagonist, embraces this, unleashing fate's end to erode enemy defenses and resistance, then iron weakness to drain their health and mana until the beast-like foes before him can no longer stand, and with a flicker he ends their struggle effortlessly. Even when they charge with heavy hammers, he halts them barehanded, invoking Scrawn of the Strong, a technique amplifying his damage while lessening theirs, shattering their weapons and leaving them open as he hurls an object to topple them. Leaping high above a towering lamp, he crashes down with a brutal strike, his master's words echoing within him. Weaken the enemy, then defeat them in one blow, for 2 blows are too many, you must kill them in one without fail. This is the essence of the debuff master, and Smirk follows it flawlessly, destroying his foes in single decisive strikes, pink energy bursting outward as none could resist. All this unfolds within Brave New World, or BNW, a virtual reality MMORPG of unmatched scale, boasting a vast 30-million square kilometer map, over 2 billion NPCs, near infinite content, and a sensory system so perfect that it ceases to be just a game and becomes an entirely new world, though for me, such grandeur never truly stirred much interest. The biggest reason I entered BNW was money, realizing I could earn through the game, and after a year of relentless grinding I became an elemental mage and even rose to Guild Master of Beamer, a group of 200 members, enough to live comfortably for a time. Whenever we uncovered treasure, my team would marvel at its worth and ask how I kept finding such sweet dungeons, and I would simply say there is a way to know everything, my talent in gaming shining despite my glitch education and family background, for no law dictates that I should die without a chance. Often I'd ask if everyone was free, promising to treat them later, and their cheers of really, as expected of our guild master, reminded me that BNW was my only lifeline. But on that day, rain poured heavily as 2 men clashed with bare swords, while others searched through the storm, grumbling that visibility was poor yet convinced I was nearby. Hiding behind a tree, clenching my teeth, I cursed those dog-like bastards, for they were members of a colossal guild with enormous influence, the very ones who crushed Beamer, and I had not expected the power gap to be so overwhelming. My guild erased before we could even mount a proper struggle. A message flashed before him, warning that he had been playing Brave New World for 47 hours straight, and reminding him that excessive gaming interferes with daily life. But he scoffed, saying he had nowhere to go, for outside the game only a misty basement room and a worn-out VR capsule awaited. To stand against Genesis he had plunged into massive debt, buying high-priced items that were stolen through betrayal, leaving him with nothing but dry beef jerky, a torn cloak, half a treasure map, and his wand. Sitting on the ground, he bit his teeth in despair, asking why he could never succeed despite all his sacrifices, why he always had to lose, and he began to cry. At that moment an old man appeared before him, declaring that the world was ruthless and survival belonged only to the strong, so the weak being trampled was natural and not unjust. Shocked by his sudden presence, he wondered when the old man had arrived, only to hear him scornfully remark that it was pathetic to see a young boy begging for sympathy with such a pale, pitiful look. Annoyed, he thought who just calls someone a beggar outright, then stood and tried to walk away, saying he had no mood for wordplay and the old man should continue on his way, but the elder snapped back, incredulous that he dared ignore an adult who was speaking. Just then Taesung sensed someone approaching from behind and turned, shouting to the old man that it was dangerous, only to see a Genesis clan member leaping down, ready to strike, and a huge blast erupted. Another man appeared, mocking his comrade for recklessness and saying he had suggested going together, while the other brushed him off as slow-spoken. Then they remarked that Taesung still hadn't logged out, and it became clear the attack had been taken by Taesung himself to shield the old man, leaving a bruise on his hand. The enemy sneered that reality was worse than hell, that Taesung's debts in the hundreds of millions made logging out pointless, and Taesung clenched his teeth in despair, thinking he was doomed without even a proper weapon. Forcing himself up, he urged the old man to leave quickly as it was too dangerous, but the elder only scoffed, asking who, him, which Taesung dismissed as no time for jokes. The enemies laughed, wondering aloud about the old man, calling him an NPC and mocking Taesung for worrying about one, saying he always acted like this, cosplaying as a newbie. Hearing that, Taesung's anger boiled over as he shouted at Kim Jinwoo, calling him a traitorous jerk. But Kim, who had joined the Genesis men, only laughed, saying traitor was too harsh since he had merely accepted a better offer. Taesung clenched his teeth, devastated, accusing Kim of betrayal when he had treated him as family. But Kim coldly retorted that talk of family was tiresome, for if Taesung had truly thought of them as family he would never have opposed Genesis, and accused him of recruiting guild members only to protect his position as leader. Stunned into silence, Taesung listened as Kim sneered that family meant nothing, that companions who felt like family were to be avoided because it was only when business thrived that such bonds appeared. And with that Kim raised his wand, golden energy surging menacingly from its tip. Taesung accused Kim of stealing his weapon, but Kim mocked him, saying it was junk anyway and he would put it to better use, then shouted in twisted delight as he unleashed red energy from the wand, blasting it straight at Taesung. Taken aback, Taesung was consumed in the explosion as one of the enemies laughed, calling Kim a psycho for betraying someone who had shared meals with him. But Kim only sneered that you must step on them hard so they never crawl back up. Then a voice cut through the smoke, worthless, no matter how much trash you are, you never stab a benefactor in the back and laugh. And as the haze cleared, Taesung saw the old man standing with his hand extended, electrical energy surging around him, declaring that Kim was not even worth recycling. Shocked by the power, Taesung froze, while Kim clenched his teeth in disbelief, shouting that the old man had blocked his attack, only for the elder to scoff, calling that pathetic attempt an attack before clenching his fist and unleashing a devastating burst of energy. The blast tore through stone and earth alike, slamming into all three enemies with force like maximum damage itself, leaving them utterly broken. Taesung stared in disbelief as a ruined symbol glowed on his palm, and a system message confirmed activation of the ruin of inside, identifying the mysterious figure before him as an entity-type NPC, race human, level 999. The old man's eyes shimmered with a terrifying light, revealing that he was no ordinary character at all. Taesung shouted, "This can't be real, level 999? The screen flashed. Old man, NPC, level 999. The old man said he had been watching him for a long time, that he had no talent, no money, no luck, and those words stabbed like a knife in his heart. But the old man added, even so, he admired Taesung's struggle. The screen then showed a warning about the scenario bond connection, telling Taesung to approach the old man respectfully or risk being killed by the angry elder. Taesung shouted in excitement, "An epic quiz, this is amazing, and the questions weren't that difficult." He knew this wouldn't come again, so he had nothing to lose. Without hesitation, he kneeled before the elder saying, "Thank you for saving me, please accept me as your disciple." The screen confirmed. Epic quiz complete. You are now the disciple of DUIs, class changed from elementary mage to disciple. Taesung, confused, wondered if his first profession was really disciple. The elder explained, it literally meant Taesung was now his disciple, and with that came the path to invincibility. The elder extended his hand, and Taesung, taking a deep gulp, grabbed it, saying, "Yes, master." As Taesung touched the elder's hand, a surge of energy surrounded them, a magical circle forming, and both of them began to levitate. Taesung's eyes widened. This is insane, teleportation magic? They teleported to the midway point of Punlun Mountain, and Taesung landed, stunned. How could this old man use teleportation magic so easily when even rankers struggle with it? The elder snapped, "Stop dawdling, follow me, there's a place over there where I'll teach you." Taesung, still on the ground, said, "Yes, master." Later, in a cave, Taesung marveled at the lake. "Master, this lake is so clear." The elder explained, "It's a lake of purification, and it would help purify him." Taesung asked, "What does that mean?" The elder said he wasn't planning on teaching for long, just 99 days, and the lake would assist in that. Taesung saw his reflection in the water, confused, asking what it meant. The elder replied, "It's literal purification, new wine needs a new bottle." With that, the elder kicked Taesung into the lake, saying, "But right now you're filthy." As Taesung hit the water, he thought he was dying, but soon realized he could breathe. A message flashed. Lake of purification in progress. Pain incoming in 3, 2, 1. A surge of energy slammed into Taesung's body as the timer began counting down. Taesung was shouting, his body racked with pain as the elder looked on, outside the water, commenting that Taesung's screams sounded refreshing. Every cell in Taesung's body felt like it was burning, his entire being tearing apart, but the system allowed it. He wanted to log out, but his hands were trembling. He remembered all his struggles, the hardships that led him here, and the fights between his parents. Clenching his teeth, He refused to give in, saying no, he had to endure this, he wouldn't run away anymore. Time kept ticking, and finally, the pain ceased as the timer ran out. Taesung emerged from the water, gasping, saying he did it, then shouted to the corner, "I did it!" The screen appeared, confirming purification complete, and Taesung's profile updated. His level had dropped from 201 to just level 1. He snapped, shouting, "What?" His elder laughed behind him, saying the purification was a success. Taesung, confused, asked what happened to his level, and the elder tossed a towel at his head, explaining that an hour ago, Taesung was nothing but trash. Taesung asked if the elder meant before meeting him, and the elder confirmed, noting that everything about him, strength, stamina, mana, was off balance. He had no hope of becoming invincible with such imbalanced growth. Taesung realized the elder had reset his level because he was useless. The elder assured him he would rebuild him from scratch and unlock his full potential. Simply put, while others gained 1 mana, Taesung would gain 1.2 mana. Taesung thought, wait, so if others gain 100 mana at level 100, I'll gain 120? He kneeled, saying he was grateful for the elder's grace and vowed to grow deeply as his disciple. The elder remarked that Taesung was bowing a lot today and warned it was too early to be pleased, saying they still had a long way to go before becoming the strongest human. In 9 days, the process would repeat 100 times, with even more rigorous training ahead. Inside, Taesung was determined, thinking he would never give up, no matter how many times it took, as long as he could get stronger. The elder smiled, his determination showing, and left the room. The screen displayed a new prompt. True training begins with details, showing 0%. It then changed to 1%. Meanwhile, in the United States at the headquarters of B&W Game Company, Hive, the head of the special department, a man said Epic Porter 007 had been activated. Other employees commented that DUIs had taken on a disciple, wondering how it was possible that a broke gamer from before could be chosen. One of the men entered and identified himself as Vice Chairman Oppenheimer, head of the Hexagon team. He instructed to zoom in on the screen, where Taesung's full profile appeared. Oppenheimer smirked, saying he seemed like an ordinary, heavy user from Korea, and remarked that it would be interesting to see how long he could endure. Taesung had wanted to escape his gutter-like reality, so he came to B&W, hoping to run away from it all, but the game wasn't much different from real life. In fact, it felt like the game mirrored reality, or maybe it was the other way around. Taesung wondered if it was his own fault. Then he met his master, and for the first time, he found hope. He started training relentlessly to become invincible, going through the purification process 10,000 times, enduring thousands of nails and wounds, needles piercing his body. He climbed, trained, and in 3 months it was over. On a snowy mountain, inside a cave, the elder took a sip of alcohol and laughed, saying he wanted to see his student give him alcohol. Taesung, holding his own cup, said, "Thank you, master." The elder added, "After today, the promised 99 days would end. Do you feel sad about leaving Kunlun Mountain?" Taesung glanced at his cup, replying, "No way. How could he feel sad about leaving this hellish training?" The elder raised an eyebrow. "Seriously? After only 3 months, you're making weak excuses? I even gave you a break in the middle. Back in my day, I trained without sleep." Taesung smirked, remembering that during his break, he worked hard to pay off his debts. Then, with a thought, he asked, "Master, have you ever had a time like mine?" The elder's faint smile grew as he replied, "There was a time when I too pursued strength, though I wasn't trash like you." The word stung, but Taesung kept quiet, thinking, does he even feel sorry for me? The elder continued, 5 years ago, there were 8 strongest people in the continent, and I was always last. I desperately wanted to beat them, so I stayed here in Kunlun Mountain to train. Eventually, I obtained the greatest power, but I still couldn't win. Taesung asked, "Were the opponents that strong?" The elder shook his head, "No. When I came down, 500 years had passed. They were all old and worn out." Taesung's eyes widened. The elder added, "Because I trained so long, I didn't feel the passage of time. And because of that, the knowledge I gained during that time became useless. Apologies again for that." Here's the version without any quotation marks. Elsa reached inside his robe and tossed a book toward Taesung, saying, "Take this." Taesung caught it and asked, "What's this?" Elsa replied, "Do you know what invincible means?" Taesung answered, "Doesn't it mean being stronger than everyone else?" Elsa shook his head, "Wrong. Invincible means unbeatable power. It's the power of overcoming, a power that crushes any enemy. Taesung said, but isn't winning only possible if you're stronger than your enemy? Elsa responded, there's no need to become the strongest. All you have to do is weaken the enemy stronger than you. The technique I just gave you is the beginning and the end of the debuff master. As Taesung opened the book, the screen flashed, quest completed, true training begins, reworked, detailed, endured use, training 100%, class change successful. Taesung's class changed from disabled to debuff master. The book glowed, swirling with purple energy. Taesung tensed, wondering what was happening, but then realized this was debuff master. The screen then displayed, your nickname has changed from Taesung to Siegfried. Taesung blinked and asked, wait, what's Siegfried? Elsa smirked, you're my only disciple. Shouldn't your name match your strength? Taesung was stunned. In BNW, you couldn't change your nickname, but here he was, changing even the system's laws at will. It felt like he'd been reborn. With this power, he felt he could even beat those genius-level players. Elsa then said, oh, since you've become my disciple, there's something that must be done. Taesung asked, what's that? Elsa replied, the people I mentioned earlier, they probably each had a successor prepared before they died. Just then, a new screen appeared, Master Han, category, Epic Quest, content, defeat the 7 descendants of the 8 strongmen who dominated the continent 500 years ago, excluding your master's demons. Elsa continued, defeat those descendants with the technique I created. Taesung grinned, saying, sure, no matter what it is, this disciple will definitely defeat them. I'll prove my strength, master. Then Master Han said, you close your eyes, they look much better. This is the end of my class. With that, Taesung was engulfed by purple energy, feeling his aura grow stronger. Master Han told him to now descend and become the strongest after him. Taesung replied, I will, master. In an instant, both were teleported back to their locations, and Master Han, gazing at his empty home, wondered if he had sent Taesung off with too much pressure. At the western edge of the continent, in Bearman territory, Taesung walked through the forest, thinking, Bearman territory, you sent me so far away. But maybe this works out. I'm only level 1 right now. It's obvious that if I ran into a Genesis guy in my current state, I'd get kicked out. My priority is to grow without anyone interfering until I reach at least level 100. He sat on a log and opened his job description. The description appeared, role, melee damage dealer, supporter, wide aura nuker. It detailed his physical attack type debuff, fighting by weakening enemies with various debuffs. His main weapon was a heavy weapon, his main armor was heavy armor. The skills listed included Smash, an active skill, Weakening Curse, and Desperate Defense, a defense area effect debuff. The screen explained Desperate Defense as creating a level 1 circle field around the caster that reduced enemy defense and magic resistance. As the skill leveled up, the range increased. Weakening Curse created a circular field that gradually reduced enemies' health and mana, with increasing damage as the skill leveled up. Taesung thought, wow, this is crazy. It reduces not only defense but also magic resistance, plus fixed damage to mana. I need to try this out, but are there any monsters nearby or should I just hit a passing NPC? Just then, a tiger appeared, running towards him, and Taesung saw a hamster in the tiger's mouth. The hamster screamed, "Human bastard, please save me!" An emergency quest notification popped up, saying, Hidden quest defeat the mutated tiger, rescue the Great Spirit. Taesung thought, that talking hamster is the Great Spirit, not the mutated tiger, which is level 25. It's not too high a level for monsters in the starting area, but what should I do? He looked at the stick in his hand, then used Spirit Defense to decrease the enemy's strength and magic power, combined with Weakening Curse. He stood in front of the tiger, and as the effects of his skills started to take hold, Taesung thought, no matter how strong the opponent is, I'll take you down. With a swing of his stick, he smashed the tiger. The hamster's cage was thrown to the ground, and Taesung said, I just need to weaken you, little tiger. The tiger, enraged, charged towards Taesung, who also rushed forward, striking the tiger with his stick in multiple spots. The tiger extended its paw, attempting to scratch Taesung, but he dodged it. The hamster, watching the fight, was amazed, commenting that a level 1 human was fighting on par with a level 25 mutated tiger. The hamster shouted, Please defeat it and save me, you human. Taesung, frustrated, muttered to himself, This hamster's been yapping since earlier. I'm dying here. Are you cheering or disturbing me? Even though the tiger had been struck a dozen times and was under a debuff, it still fought back fiercely. The level gap couldn't be ignored, and T-Sung felt his mana and HP dwindling. His weapon had reached its limit. If he didn't finish the fight with the next strike, survival would be difficult. T-Sung tightened his grip on the wooden stick, folded his sleeves, and prepared to use his most powerful technique to deliver a final blow. The tiger roared, and T-Sung readied himself. Both charged at each other, the tiger leaping toward T-Sung. With all his strength, T-Sung struck at the tiger's mouth area. The impact was so powerful that the stick broke in half, but the tiger's teeth shattered, and the creature was defeated. T-Sung leveled up significantly, reaching level 15 in one go. He said to himself, to reach level 15 in a single fight, ready to die for it. Defeating the undefeatable. This is what being a debuff master is all about. The hamster shouted, "Human, stop daydreaming and get me out of this quickly." T-Sung, still catching his breath, took the hamster out of the cage. The hamster said, "I came back from the brink of death." "Thank you so much, human." T-Sung thought, "Your manner of speaking is quite refined." The hamster continued, "I really want to repay you, but do you ever feel lonely going on adventures alone? If you want, I can accompany you." T-Sung cut him off, saying, "Don't mind, I don't mind the loneliness." The hamster tugged at T-Sung's pant leg. T-Sung shouted, crying out, "Hold on, wait. I'm currently powerless due to amnesia. Just take me with you." T-Sung clenched his teeth, saying, "Why are you being so clingy? I don't have a hobby of raising pets." A message appeared, "Hidden quest completed, rescue the Great Spirit. Reward contract with the Great Forest Spirit." T-Sung thought, this guy is a quest reward. Wait, this hamster's called the Great Spirit, right? Even though it's a hamster, a Great Spirit rank is on par with a Spirit King. It might not be useful right now, but once it regains its strength. After thinking for a moment, T-Sung sighed and said, "Fine, let's make a contract. You're tough but have a cute side too." The hamster responded, "Really?" T-Sung nodded, saying, "Then let's begin." At his cue, a sign glowed, and a chain of light started to form. T-Sung knew what was happening, and the screen displayed, "Contract with the Great Forest Spirit successful." The hamster's profile appeared, revealing its full name, Prometheus Cactus Hydra Leviathan Bless Zacharias Anabolic Yardo. T-Sung stared at the list, realizing that the Great Forest Spirit's name was way too long. The screen prompted, "Give a new name to the contract Great Forest Spirit." T-Sung thought for a moment and said, "From now on, your name is Hamji." The hamster frowned, saying, "What?" Clearly a bit pissed. Hamji, irritated by his name, snapped at T-Sung, asking how she could call him that, but T-Sung responded that it was cute. Hamji, boiling with anger, declared it ridiculous to name a great spirit, Hamji, and insisted she couldn't change it now, so he should accept it. But then T-Sung asked why he, a great spirit, was locked in a cage. Hamji confessed he didn't know, waking up to find himself trapped, with no memory except his name and his role as a spirit of the forest. T-Sung sympathized, calling the situation frustrating, and Hamji, pinching his own cheek, demanded T-Sung help him recover his memories. T-Sung, however, prioritized strength, telling him not to rush. Meanwhile, in the village, Jericho, a missionary guild worker, greeted T-Sung, the human from another realm, and asked what brought him to the mercenary guild. T-Sung explained he wanted a mercenary license to grow stronger. Jericho warned that to get the license, he'd have to pass a qualification test, no matter how immortal he claimed to be, and gave him the task of capturing a mutant rabbit. But T-Sung, unfazed, presented a massive mutant tiger claw, known for its durability and used in lower-grade weapons, and asked if that would suffice. Jericho, shocked, struggled to believe T-Sung had captured such a beast alone, but T-Sung argued the tiger was far more reliable than a rabbit. Convinced, Jericho handed over the guild license, a round badge-like device, and asked T-Sung to listen to his story if he had time. T-Sung asked Jericho what story he was referring to, and Jericho explained that an abnormal number of mutants had been gathering, with a nearby ranch recently attacked, leaving the villagers trembling. T-Sung, noting the increased monster activity, asked if the frequency of appearances had risen, and Jericho confirmed it, mentioning that the mutant tiger T-Sung caught had never been seen in Beerman territory before. Now mutant tigers, wolves, and buffaloes were all a threat. T-Sung, sensing something strange with the level imbalance, thought something was wrong. Jericho, hoping for help, showed a quiz asking T-Sung to assist until the situation was resolved. T-Sung hesitated, saying his level was too low, but Jericho pointed out that T-Sung was the only one who'd caught a mutant tiger alone, and that help from outside would take at least a week. T-Sung, skeptical but intrigued by the danger and the chance for leveling up, agreed to help. Meanwhile, at Sacrier Castle, a bloodied man with a severed leg dragged himself across the floor, begging for mercy. From behind, a monstrous figure wielding an axe severed his neck, coldly saying, "I told you not to raise your head. Humans are such a foolish race, but don't worry, I, superior to you, will become your king." The hideous monster stood like a human. Back in the village, T-Sung leaves the weapon shop with new gear but still looks scruffy, making Hanji snicker that he now resembles a decent beggar instead of just a plain one, which earns an irritated retort. Perched on his shoulder, Hanji insists it is time to ditch the ragged training clothes, while T-Sung inspects his new weapon and wonders if it will hold up. Hanji then presses about food, calling him a stingy reloader, and quickly complains about the lousy meals he has been given, sparking a brief quarrel over the price and quality of the Mona stones T-Sung bought. Their bickering halts when a stranger steps up, asking if he is the one who captured the mutant tiger. The man introduces himself as Jang Manbok, explaining he will join the quest alongside companions Thompson and Rousey. Shaking his hand, T-Sung remembers Jericho's words that he would not be going alone, and he feels a bit steadier seeing other mercenaries as Manbok addresses him by the name Siegfried. He is startled when Manbok suddenly addresses him as captain and asks why, only to hear the blunt reasoning that the strongest should naturally lead, and since he had defeated the mutant tiger while the rest still struggled with minor foes, the title fit. Though surprised, he accepts the role with a mix of weight and duty, respecting Manbok's frankness. Thompson then remarks their party is officially formed and presses about their first move, suggesting they secure Bucardi Ranch within Bierman territory where conditions are said to be dire. At the ranch, chaos unfolds as soldiers fight back waves of mutant beasts. Manbok wrestles a wolf while Thompson drives his spear into it, and in the heat of the struggle Manbok half-jokes that he longs for his younger strength. Their talk cuts short when a level 25 mutated bison charges, tossing them with brutal force. Focused on his own clash, he nearly overlooks it until a frantic shout warns him, and reacting instantly he triggers Smash, rushing headlong to deliver a crushing strike to its skull, felling it in one blow. The system registers his progress, marking him at level 20, and as he catches his breath under the gaze of many, he cannot help but compare the frantic tension of group battles to the quieter ease of hunting alone. Rousey arrives carrying an injured Manbok and quickly checks his condition, but he brushes off her concern, insisting he is fine and more worried about the others who had been caught in the basin's path. Claiming his role as tank allowed him to endure the blow, he reassures her that Thompson will survive though recovery will take time. Amidst this, Manbok praises his solo defeat of the beast, remarking that the rumors of his strength were no exaggeration, even teasing if he had thought of going pro. He laughs modestly, calling it luck, but their exchange halts when the mutant animals suddenly retreat in an oddly coordinated fashion, vanishing into the forest as one. Manbok wonders if their mission is done, yet he senses the withdrawal was commanded rather than natural. While surveying the battlefield, the system prompts a new quest titled Investigation, ordering him to uncover the cause behind the organized assaults with a reward of 200 gold. Realizing this mission goes beyond driving the mutants back and instead demands learning their intent, he tells the group he must return to the main tent to gather more details on their movements. He added that they must track where the creatures were heading, and though Manbok worried about him going alone, T-Sung assured everyone he was fit for the task. Hanji then chimed in, declaring his presence would keep things steady, which drew a faint blush from Rousey at his bold charm. Entering the forest, T-Sung followed the clear trail of prints, confirming the mutants all marched toward Schreier territory, a shift that stirred his suspicion of a new target. As he considered this, Hanji called from a tree, teasing him for lagging before pointing ahead where the castle gates of Schreier swung open, and to his shock, a rider appeared mounted on the mutant tiger. The system revealed the figure as Garugo, the Golden Goblin Lord, a legendary boss said to surface only once a century, wielding fire and light attributes along with the rare power to control beasts. Realizing Garugo orchestrated the entire uprising, he knew the danger was far greater than before. Hanji, perched back on his shoulder, nervously asked their next step, and he decided they must regroup at the barracks rather than face Garugo head-on. Returning to Bierman's barracks, T-Sung was met by Blitch, the bald commander-in-chief, who welcomed him with recognition, having heard from Jericho of his feats. Though wishing for a longer talk, Blitch pushed to the matter at hand, listening closely as he reported Schreier's fall, the Goblin Lord's manipulation behind the mutant surge, and the looming threat to Beerman territory. He warned that evacuation of the lord and residents might be the only way to avert ruin. Manbach, puzzled, asked why news of Schreier's fall had only reached them now, and Blitch, regretful, admitted their ties to Schreier were limited and their weak communication system left them blind, a weakness Garugo had exploited to perfection. The commander trembled at the thought of Beerman's 300-year heritage crumbling under the invasion, and worried how such news could be delivered to their lord. Trying to steady him, T-Sung suggested a desperate but possible plan. What they needed most was not soldiers or preparation but time, enough for him to grow stronger. T-Sung laid out the plan quickly, saying the special forces should move with the agile fighter to slice through mutants and guerrilla strikes and scatter them, then lure the stragglers to his location where he would finish the job, promising to join the goblin fight once he hit level 30. Blitch reminded him the goblin lord was level 50, far above that mark, but he replied that just as he had downed a level 20 mutant tiger at level 1, the gap did not make it impossible, and even failure would buy time for reinforcements. Blitch exhaled, agreeing to trust him. As they left the tent, Hanji approached with a question, only for T-Sung to brush him off with a food joke before asking what he really wanted. Hanji pressed about the earlier talk with the bald man, noting he had held something back. T-Sung asked how he knew, and Hanji said reaching Great Spirit rank sharpens perception, then explained that at level 30 new skills open up, a potential edge against Garugo, though not a guaranteed win. He asked why T-Sung hid this, and T-Sung admitted he was not ready to reveal those skills since regular users might see them as cheats, sparking uproar and rumors. Hanji remarked that humans prefer such exhausting lives, and T-Sung replied it was better to live struggling than to exist blindly. Manbach showed up asking if he had finished with the commander, and when T-Sung admitted the plan felt too centered on him, Manbach told him not to worry since just being included was enough. He then asked if they should rest before the operation or log out, and T-Sung decided to rest since it would start in 2 hours. After Manbach left, Hanji asked if his master was returning to the other world, and T-Sung handed him a coin, telling him to buy a snack. Hanji teased him for suddenly being generous when he had just claimed to have no money, and T-Sung casually admitted he had lied before logging out. Removing his VR gear and stepping from the capsule, he stretched his stiff body, debated grabbing food, then dropped onto his bed deciding to sleep instead. Reflecting, he thought about how much had changed. Once a fugitive filled with guilt, now holding the hidden job of debuff master and fighting for territory, no longer just chasing revenge and money but actually enjoying the game. He wondered if he had matured, eager to play again soon, when a knock came at his door. Sitting up, he muttered about leveling before the operation, then answered to find a man in uniform asking if he was T-Sung. When T-Sung confirmed, the man explained they were there to install a capsule, showing papers that congratulated him on Epic Code 007. Confused since he had not ordered it, T-Sung realized it might tie to his hidden class, recalling such classes carried great benefits, and suspecting it came from the beehive. Overwhelmed, he nearly teared up, then invited them in politely, asking if they had a preferred drink. As the workers set up the capsule, a man stepped aside to call the chairman, reporting that they had arrived at T-Sung's house and begun installation. The chairman thanked him, and when asked why a stranger was receiving such a gift, he explained it was camaraderie, since they shared the same hidden class. Meanwhile, T-Sung examined the capsule key in awe, recalling an ad for the Hyper VR capsule Orge created by Sook, Guild Master of Genesis, as the pinnacle of gameplay, something ordinary players could never hope to buy. Now one sat in his room, courtesy of the beehive, and he marveled that hidden classes were treated this way. Circling the capsule with excitement, he told himself sleep could wait, slipped on the gear, and logged in. Instantly he noticed the difference: the body-hugging cushioning, the clarity of the VR, the heightened realism. Then heat and the acrid smell of burning filled his senses. Eyes snapping open inside the game, he rose to find only fire raging before him, utterly confused by what had just happened. Flames consumed the territory as mutant wolves and goblins tear through the streets, soldiers lying defeated while terrified citizens flee in chaos. T-Sung arrives, baffled by the destruction, when a desperate cry for the Great Spirit echoes. Hanji sprints across the burning ground with a wolf snapping at his heels, gasping that he cannot run anymore and fearing this is where his life as a Great Spirit ends. Just as the beast lunges, T-Sung intercepts, slashing his weapon across its face and killing it in one clean strike. Hanji breathes out in relief, calling him master, then dashes up angrily, scolding that he nearly died waiting for him. T-Sung steadies him, urging calm, and asks for an explanation. Hanji snaps that it should be obvious. Right after the adventurers logged out, goblins led the mutants in a surprise raid, overwhelming the territory at once. T-Sung curses inwardly, realizing they struck when everyone was locked out, and Hanji yells that this is why everything has fallen into such disorder. T-Sung mutters that at least now he no longer needs to keep up appearances and assigns Hanji a task. Meanwhile, enraged wolves and goblins charge straight at civilians. A soldier, already exhausted, curses that he thought the evacuation was complete, but now sees a mother clutching her child in danger, despairing that the numbers are far too many. A goblin leaps at him from above, dagger raised, but before it can strike, T-Sung's stealth attack pierces through, spraying blood as the goblin is flung back. Without pause, T-Sung follows up with a crushing smash technique, tackling another goblin and striking its face down in a decisive blow. The guard, having grasped the urgency, declared that he understood the situation and would handle the evacuation, urging T-Sung to hold the line. Still, he hesitated, insisting that they could not leave everything to a lone mercenary, and that they would fight alongside him. T-Sung, however, calmly refused, appreciating the offer but saying he preferred to fight alone. Activating desperate defense and his weakening curse, he spread his debuffs across the enemy ranks. The soldier looked baffled, unable to comprehend his words, until T-Sung smirked and handed over a strange belt-like potion, assuring it was nothing special but still useful. Grateful yet ashamed to retreat, the man gathered the citizens, entrusting the battlefield to him. T-Sung thought it was fine to reveal such power to an NPC since they were not players, deciding to share a portion of his strength. Suddenly, a mutant lunged from behind, but T-Sung blocked the strike head-on. Pressing back against the beast, he shoved it aside only to face a charging goblin. He pushed the wolf away and parried the goblin's blow, taunting that the weakening curse must be agony since its posture was in ruins, adding it should have fled when his trap was set. As the goblin roared and lunged again, T-Sung vaulted over its head, smashing it into the ground with such force that the floor cracked beneath them. Standing over the corpse, he remarked that the expensive capsule was indeed on another level, sharpening his senses and movements beyond even what his master's training had achieved, making him feel capable of dodging anything. Scoffing that rich people had hoarded such advantages for themselves, he unleashed his enhanced strength, leaping through the battlefield and cutting down monsters one by one with a triple strike assault. A system message soon flashed. He had reached level 22. Though satisfied, he admitted to himself that leveling had become much harder past 20. At that moment, Hanji came running, trailed by a horde of mutants, crying out desperately if this was enough for him. T-Sung only smirked, muttering that if leveling was hard, he would simply kill more until it wasn't. With that, he charged straight into the incoming swarm, curses spreading across the creatures as he struck them down. Elsewhere, Garugo observed with narrowed eyes, sneering that the pest from outside had returned. Though mocking his struggle, he admitted the boy's growth was dangerous, warning himself that if T-Sung grew any stronger, he would become a true threat unlike the worthless trash around him. Just then, Bleach appeared before him, hearing those words and realizing the pest he spoke of could only be T-Sung. Garugo narrows his eyes, realizing the pest must be T-Sung. If that's true, Bleach thinks he has to stall, buy time for him to grow. He can't let this bastard escape. He charges, shouting at Garugo to face him instead, calling him a coward beast and vowing to defeat him to reclaim his lord. Garugo bursts into laughter, mocking that a man who can't even protect his master dares call him a coward. With a wicked grin, he presses his axe to the captive's neck, taunting that he doesn't know how long either of them can last. Bleach's eyes widen, panic hitting as he realizes there's no time. Hurry, T-Sung, everyone is waiting for you. 30 minutes earlier, Hanji had been shouting that he was a great spirit, not bait, and protested that if he got caught while luring monsters, it would be the end of him. Lim countered firmly that there was no other way, asking if he preferred his master to live as a useless adventurer who only ran away, reminding him that if they fled, everyone else would die. Hanji begged not to be dragged into the fight, but T-Sung told him they were in this together, pleading for his help. Reluctantly, Hanji took a deep breath, agreeing on the condition that T-Sung prepare plenty of nuts for him afterward, and bumped fists with him. T-Sung smiled, promising without hesitation. Back in the present, Hanji sat grumpily on T-Sung's head, complaining that he was sick of being caught, and swearing never to trust his master again. T-Sung admitted fault, urging him to calm down since the danger had passed, and reassured him there was no need to worry anymore. Hanji shouted that the only reason they succeeded was thanks to him, while the ground behind them was littered with burning, crushed monsters. T-Sung then pulled out a bottle, asking about the special matter he had requested. Hamji replied that if he meant the Goblin King, he had not seen it directly, but had discovered a promising lead. When pressed, he explained that while running through the forest with mutants and goblins on his tail, he stumbled across a massive Bearman castle radiating a sinister energy. Though he could not see inside, he was certain that the dreadful aura belonged to the Goblin Lord. T-Sung guesses the Goblin King has taken over the castle. Normally a lord would have fled, but this eerie pressure makes no sense, and Bleach is nowhere. He mutters he'll have to hurry. Hamji protests if he's really going in, but T-Sung orders him to stay put and heads off. At the castle gates, T-Sung senses the foul aura and hesitates, only to spin around when he hears someone, Hamji, trembling yet insisting he couldn't let him go alone. T-Sung thanks him with a crooked smile, touched, and Hamji climbs onto his shoulder, pressing for a plan. T-Sung admits there's no time, sometimes you just push forward. With that, he storms the door, smashing it open as Hamji shrieks at his recklessness. Inside, Bleach sits wounded by a pillar, one arm severed. T-Sung rushes over, shocked, but Bleach steadies himself, declaring even weak, he remains a knight sworn to guard his lord. T-Sung curses under his breath, realizing even the lord isn't safe. A booming voice interrupts, Garugo, mocking that so this is the human who crushed his army, stronger than the rest, the one the brat waited for. T-Sung snaps, demanding what he means. Garugo laughs, accusing him of sacrificing the bearmen just to buy time to grow strong enough to face him. Bleach shouts over Garugo's taunts, telling T-Sung not to listen, that they only did what had to be done. T-Sung asks if the figure behind the goblin is the lord, and Bleach confirms. T-Sung tells him to wait, dropping his weapon, which makes Garugo sneer that he must be surrendering like a pathetic human. Instead, T-Sung channels his skill, speed regulation, energy swirling at his hand before he fires it at Garugo. The goblin staggers, panicked at losing sight of his movements, unsure if it's trick or coincidence. T-Sung snaps that he shouldn't touch Bleach's severed arm, which Garugo is gripping. Enraged, Garugo lunges, but T-Sung intercepts with a crushing kick that sends him flying back. Garugo realizes in horror it isn't speed that T-Sung gained, but his own body slowed, bound by an oppressive force. T-Sung smirks that the skill works well, then retrieves Bleach's severed arm from Garugo's grasp, handing it back, saying even if it can't be reattached, it doesn't belong in the enemy's hand. He thanks Bleach for holding out, claiming their struggle gave him the chance to grow stronger, and tells him to leave the rest to him. Ordering Hamji to stop hiding and evacuate them, he watches Bleach stagger up and ask for gentleness with the Lord, while Hamji snaps back to hurry as he drags him out. T-Sung thinks the immediate danger is cleared, only the Goblin King remains. Garugo, suffocated by invisible chains, roars that not only has T-Sung bound him with this cursed magic, but he even stole his prize. He swears to rip him apart piece by piece, while T-Sung cracks a grin, declaring he won't need to hold back anymore and can finally enjoy the fight. Garugo swings his weapon in a violent arc, forcing T-Sung to duck aside and counter with a strike that smashes against the goblin's clenched teeth. Garugo snarls and lashes back, this time landing a hit that slams T-Sung against the wall. Coughing as he tries to rise, T-Sung mutters that the bastard is adapting to speed regulation already. Top bosses always climb to S rank no matter their stats. Garugo approaches with a wicked grin, mocking his grim look and vowing not just to kill him but to tear him apart limb by limb, devour his flesh, and offer his remains to the god of war before slicing his head slowly into pieces. T-Sung steadies himself, admitting the truth, speed regulation is only support, not attack, and it drains his mana too much to cast anything else. If he'd known, he might have tried that skill first. The thought tempts him, but he shakes it off, deciding to save it for the right moment. Launching forward, he closes the gap, and Garugo scoffs, calling him a moth rushing to the flame, mocking whether this is another cheap trick. Both leap at once, weapons clashing, and the impact sends T-Sung staggering back under the crushing force. Garugo's strike grazes T-Sung, making him flinch, and the Goblin Lord immediately lunges again. T-Sung dodges frantically, but Garugo shifts, ramming T-Sung and sending him crashing into the ground, blood spilling from his mouth. Standing tall, Garugo snarls that humans have always treated goblins as filthy and inferior, and though he admits their kind lacks the inheritance of higher beings, he vows to change fate. One day goblins will be feared and revered. That, he declares, is the true mission of a goblin lord, unlike mercenaries with no cause. T-Sung smirks through the blood, mocking him that goblins remain nothing more than dirty lowlifes, respected by no one. Enraged, Garugo tightens his grip and roars if those will be his last words. He swings down with all his strength, only for it to trigger speed regulation at the perfect moment, shutting it off. The blow crashes into the cement, weapon stuck, while T-Sung vanishes from sight. Garugo frowns, realizing his body feels lighter, his weapon unmoving, and before he can recover, T-Sung dashes in from every direction, striking relentlessly. T-Sung follows with a deadly slash of his own, the two pinning Garugo down until he suddenly whistles. A massive tiger bursts into the hall, slamming T-Sung across the floor. Rising with a dark laugh, Garugo admits he hadn't wanted to destroy the castle but is impressed they pushed him this far. Still, he claims the fun ends now, for the true power of the goblin god is mind control. Standing atop the beast, he commands it forward, sending the tiger tearing into T-Sung and smashing him hard against the wall. Garugo laughs, declaring the castle his tomb. T-Sung wipes the blood and glares back, saying it will be Garugo's grave instead. He recalls being mocked as a mercenary with no cause, but now the system screen flashes. Garugo's level is higher, yet incoming damage is amplified while his defense weakens. T-Sung steadies his stance, eyes sharp, and declares he isn't just a mercenary. He is the debuff master, the one destined to stand above all. The system flashes again, quest cleared, protect Baymar State. Another long day ends with Garugo and his beasts sprawled lifeless on the stone floor, their bodies sinking into the snow bed as the Goblin Lord's death shatters the monster's mind control and clears the remnants. Survivors with minor wounds drag themselves to rebuild the battered territory, while T-Sung gulps down a healing potion, muttering how it finally feels like living again, marveling that such a potion can snatch him back from death's edge. He shakes his head, still stunned he managed to bring down a Goblin Lord on his own, admitting that without enough mana for disdain for the strong he would have been the one lying dead. The greater the level gap, the stronger the effect, and this debuff, boosting damage dealt while cutting damage received, proves almost broken in power though burdened with a brutal cooldown. He knows he can't afford to keep hiding such a skill in battle. From the front Blitz appears, asking if it's safe for him to be out already. T-Sung greets him, but Blitz chuckles at his vitality, noting his lively expression. T-Sung rises, asking if Blitz himself should be resting, yet the man laughs again, saying it's suffocating to stay in the tent all day. Besides, the Lord has ordered him to bring T-Sung to the castle. At that, T-Sung recalls the Lord was badly injured too, but Blitz assures him treatment was given and his condition is much better now, though danger had been too close if T-Sung had arrived a moment later. He was known as a robust general despite his appearance. T-Sung thought it was awkward to say, but it seemed Blitz would be busy for a while. Glancing at Blitz's missing hand, he said, "Sir, I'm sorry. If I'd arrived sooner, you wouldn't have lost it." Blitz shook his head, saying no need to worry. If anything, he should be thanking T-Sung. Without him, the land would have been lost, and losing an arm was a small price for protecting the territory. T-Sung smiled, calling him a true knight, and Blitz grinned, saying he was flattering him and urging them to go. Everyone was waiting. The Lord trembled, saying so it was T-Sung who saved the territory. "I am Baron Wegnan, Lord of Bearman Territory." T-Sung took his hand and introduced himself as Siegfried. The Lord nodded, impressed even by the name, but thanked him for protecting the land. Suddenly, he fell weakly to the ground, coughing, apologizing for his frail body. T-Sung said there was no need for such gratitude. After all, he was a mercenary. The Lord insisted it didn't matter from what perspective the help came. What mattered was risking his life to protect the territory. Without him, this peaceful land would have fallen. "Enough talking," he said, "follow me." He had something for T-Sung. T-Sung thought, here it comes, quest reward time. After such an intense battle, the reward had to be incredible. He followed the Lord into the space where the Goblin Lord had fallen, realizing now just how large it was, like a grand altar he hadn't noticed before. The old man moved toward the chest and lifted something out, saying this was the treasure vault his ancestor, a collector of antiques, had created. Most of the collection was sold or lost over time, leaving only this one true treasure. He handed a box to T-Sung. As he opened it, a faint golden glow spiraled outward. Inside was a voucher for Mercedes' workshop. Across the continent of Nürburgring, magic, alchemy, and metallurgy had evolved over thousands of years, eventually fusing to create artifacts, advanced items combining all three disciplines. Supersized workshops emerged to craft them, Ortonica with technological mastery, Beamarine with destructive power, and the ultimate Mercedes. These three were the continent's greatest, and the Mercedes Workshop voucher was a top-tier reward for completing the Goblin Lord quest. T-Zung's eyes widened. A Mercedes voucher with plus 12 enhancement, 100% guaranteed at this level? Unreal. This was worth everything. The Lord explained, 700 years ago, when Mercedes Workshop first opened, it struggled financially. As a fledgling workshop, they sold their coupon for just 1,000 gold, still a huge investment at the time. Back then, Mercedes was nothing but a hole-in-the-wall shop. It was Count Graham, my ancestor, who helped Mercedes when everyone else ignored it. Whether he foresaw the future or just liked collecting gold, I do not know. It turned out to be one of the best investments. Now, these workshops have finally earned their honor. T-Sung stared at the voucher, stunned. This should cost tens of millions of gold now, too much for him. The Lord shook his head, saying it was just an ownerless item. They had intended it for a descendant worthy of a strong leader, but no one fit the role. Even his own son fell short. Then the Lord's gaze softened, recalling a moment of clarity during a brief recovery. He said he had seen T-Sung's unwavering strength, and assured him he would become a hero to shake the continent. Embarrassed by such bold words, T-Sung blinked, but the Lord continued, asking that if T-Sung became a hero, he would help his son, investing in his courage and bravery. Still processing, T-Sung nodded, saying, "All right, I will take care of your son, my lord." Instantly, the screen appeared, promise with Baron Wegman, category, General Quest. When you reach master level or higher, repay your gratitude by teaching his descendants. T-Sung held the golden watcher, grinning. Sell it at the auction house, and he could make 700 million gold, enough to clear debts and buy his mother a new home. But Master would have scolded him for being short-sighted. Better to invest in his future self. Money would come eventually. Where's Hamji? He hasn't been around all day. He spotted Hamji dancing, calling it enough for now. An onlooker smiled, recalling his daughter acting cute. Hamji shouted that the dance didn't come free. The man tossed him a nut. Hamji thanked him, then offered a dumb impersonation of Master. T-Sung barked from behind. "Who are you calling stupid, Master?" lifting Hamji slightly. Hamji yelled about surviving a loose master and needing snacks to cope. T-Sung shook his head. A voice called out, "Mr. Manbok." T-Sung turned. Manbok scolded him for always being busy and reminded him he hadn't received his quest reward yet. T-Sung nodded. "Yes, I'm about to get it now. This is the biggest reward in my life," T-Sung thought, smiling. If Thompson, who ran off scared, found out, he'd be furious. Better not mention the workshop watcher, he decided. It would ruin the excitement. Jericho appeared, smirking. "You're here, T-Sung." T-Sung turned, relieved. "Mr. Jericho, glad you're safe." Jericho grinned, "Thanks to you all. Anyway, my pocket's empty from repair costs, but we still need to settle the mission reward, 5,000 gold. T-Sung apologized. Jericho raised an eyebrow. "So you went to the castle separately for the Lord's extra reward but didn't tell the others." T-Sung was cornered. "You've got a sharp sense, Mr. Jericho. Can I ask something?" "Yes, go." T-Sung hesitated, then asked about the Goblin Lord's body. Jericho explained that the corpses were near Lake Bearman. The Lord had hung the goblins who tried to escape as a public display, so pitiful that even he felt bad seeing them that morning. Manbok laughed, extending a pouch. "I've never received so much," T-Sung thought. Lord Vagman was tougher than he expected. Time to leave the Bearman estate? It was short, but he'd grown a lot. Did Master foresee this? That's why he sent me here. Thanks to him, I'm off to a good start. Just then, another man shouted, "Disciple, you did it!" Everyone closed their eyes. Jericho groaned, "What the heck? My eardrums! Who's yelling at this hour?" T-Sung thought he'd left, then paused, husky, chair-free voice, calling someone. "Disciple. Could it be Master?" Outside, people gathered. Manduk muttered, "Is this a person or a bear? I've never seen such power." T-Sung said, "Excuse me, I'll just pass by." He looked at the man and froze. "Is that not Master?" The old man fixed his gaze. "We have finally met, disciple." T-Sung stared in shock. "Me?" The man nodded. "Yes, who else could it be?" Hamji whispered, "That's the Master you mentioned, intimidating." T-Sung agreed. "He doesn't seem like a mere senile old man." A message popped. Activate Ruin of Insight. His eyes widened. The old man laughed. "Did you see who I am, my disciple?" I will introduce myself. I am a Grand Master of the 5-star heaven, who divides mountain and sea with the supremacy of the sword Beetlejuice. He swung his sword in a 360-degree arc, immense pressure radiating over everyone. T-Sung thought, I've heard of him. 5-star heaven refers to the 5 masters who reached the mystery level in Nuremberg. Encountering a name-class expert in this remote countryside was unexpected. Sparse places seemed to breed genesis, just like when I first met my master in the forest. The man asked, Hey, are you willing to accept me as your master? T-Sung blinked. What a surprise. No, it's not like that. Why am I your disciple? The man said, It's not that obvious. If I say you're my disciple, then you are. You look like a newbie. You might not fully grasp the world. Even hearing of 5-star heaven and a Grand Master, you still don't feel it. Let me explain. T-Sung said, I already know everything. The Grand Master raised an eyebrow. What? T-Sung continued, I know about the 5-star heaven, the 5 stars of the continent, and the 5 masters. They're extremely powerful. The Grand Master said, You seem to know it well, yet react like that. T-Sung's expression hardened. I'm sorry, but you're a bit late. I already have a master I serve. The Grand Master smirked. Well, does that mean you'd abandon him for me? T-Sung laughed, annoyed. Would you stop talking? My master is stronger than you. I received a secret invisible technique from him. Grandmaster said, Is your master a Samjun? T-Sung said, No, he's higher than that. Grandmaster repeated, Higher than Samjun? T-Sung shrugged. I'm not sure, but yes. Invisible, he calls it. The Grandmaster chuckled. Invincible? Kid, you amuse me with your words. He gripped his sword tighter, slashing the ground, immense pressure cracking the earth. Kid, I am invincible. Yes, you're arrogant, but I see you respect your master. I won't force you to be my disciple, but I can't just leave either. Let's make a bet, arrogant prospective disciple. A screen appeared, urgent quest, objective, win the bet against Beetlejuice of the 5-star heaven. Lose, and you become Beetlejuice's disciple. We were taken to the past when Beetlejuice was 26. In his youth, he carved the path of the strong with a sword. Years of relentless training, cutting through flesh and blood, brought him mastery at 120. But instead of joy, emptiness filled him. What is this emptiness? He had achieved everything he wanted, yet felt unsettled. Then he looked at a disciple and thought, right, a disciple. Even my perfect skill will vanish if I die. I need someone to inherit it. He traveled the continent seeking a successor, but those he found lacked combat sense or muscle strength. No matter how he taught, each attempt ended in disappointment. He struggled. What should I do? Raising a proper disciple takes at least 20 years. I'm already 13. If I keep searching, I'll die of old age before finding one. The only place left is Bearman territory. Now standing before T-Sung, he said, At that moment I came here determined to catch even a stray. The moment I saw you, I realized it. The arrogant, cheeky fellow is destined to be my disciple. T-Sung shouted, God damn, what have you been talking about all this time? I have no intention of becoming your disciple. The old man said, So that's why you hesitate and resist. You want to avoid someone forcibly taking you, right? Then win the bet if you don't want to be my disciple. T-Sung clenched his fists, thinking, You're wrong. You're an old man who doesn't listen anyway. What am I supposed to do with this? I can't just brush off someone of this caliber, and now there's a quest on top of it. I have no choice but to cooperate. T-Sung stood voice firm. Very well, what's the bet? The old man said, The bet is hit me. T-Sung's eyes widened. The man turned. One chance only, strike or magic. If I take the slightest damage, you win. Don't worry, out of consideration for your weakness, I'll go barehanded. This body is trained to its limit, no physical weakness. T-Sung didn't wait. Did he say barehanded? The old man smirked, lacking confidence. It's not too late to become my disciple. T-Sung shot back, Old man, you know my name? Name? The man shrugged, Not important, I'll know eventually. T-Sung drew his weapon. Not caring about my name shows your lack of interest in me as a person. You only need a vessel. He activated desperate defense, Soren of strong, and smash, declaring, I'd rather die than become your disciple. The old man laughed. Winning is all about defeating words, kid. T-Sung replied, Don't worry, I won't lose. He sprinted at the old man, who analyzed the movement, so predictable, trying to disperse a debuff on one body part, aiming to weaken it. Only works on mediocrity. But then he realized the debuff was on his lower back. His eyes widened as T-Sung struck with full force. For a moment, it looked like game over. Onlookers whispered, "Come to think of it, it's the first time I've seen T-Sung fight properly. Is he really on our level?" Jericho said, "I guess he didn't defeat the Goblin Lord alone for nothing." As dust cleared, the old man stood completely still. An onlooker muttered, "He died standing up." T-Sung sighed, "Even reaching this level, I'm still not enough. Still, as a man, I feel a bit sorry. Next time, don't bet recklessly." Then the quiz rewarder popped up, asking, "When facing Betelgeuse of the 5 celestial stars, would you like to receive a quiz reward?" T-Sung muttered, "Master, what's going on?" Hanji groaned, "Hey master, what's happening?" T-Sung asked, "Are you okay?" Hanji grumbled, "You dumb bastard of a master, my head still throbs." T-Sung said, "Don't worry, it's all resolved. Let's leave before he wakes and bothers us again." "I was about to do something." Hanji interrupted, "Didn't you say you were heading to the Goblin Lord's body?" T-Sung nodded, "Right, I want to extract some blood. The body's decaying, but I can fetch a good price." Hanji smirked, "Master, you're stingy?" T-Sung corrected, "Call me frugal." Meanwhile, at Sohaka Ruins in the Mechelin Kingdom, the site of a massive level 500 monster called Phython 30 years ago, level 40 to 60 adventurers hunted. Mercenary Guild shouted, "We need party members. 2 damage dealers, 1 healer." Another called, "Pay is 100 gold per hour. We have room for a member." Adventurers scrambled, searching for companions. One of them called out, "Hey, you said you were looking for a party member? Any spot for a damage dealer?" The recruiter shook his head, "Dealer slots are full, we need a buffer." The woman recruiting, Gosrin, glanced around. So many people, yet no priests or buffers. Most look like they're in the same bind as me, she thought. Today's hunting seems doomed. Then her eyes caught someone new. Is he a newbie? She activated the ruins site, analyzed him, and widened her eyes. Without hesitation, she ran over, calling out, "Excuse me, it's T-Sung with Hamji." She asked, "Would you like to party with us?" T-Sung pressed the button, the message popped up, "Deposit in process." He stepped out of the bank, stretching, muttering, 200 million won in bank loans, 100 million in private loans. Why does the interest feel higher? The loan sharks had been quiet lately, the ones who made a scene at my house. No news is good news, he thought, just hope they never contact me again. Watching a couple drive past in a sleek car, he wondered how much it cost. The Goblin Lord quest paid well, but that was luck. Low-level players rarely get big rewards. BMW was extreme, polarized like real life. Past level 200, quests with rare, expensive items open up, and Zeal merchants help lower-level users. With skill and smarts, you could become a pro gamer. With a knack for streaming, a game streamer. Money comes if you grow. For now, he was a poor capsule without a VR. But someday he'd own a fancy car, a penthouse, maybe even a beautiful wife. As he imagined taking the name Beautiful Wife, Gosrin appeared. Back then, she had asked him about his skills, leaving T-Sung utterly surprised. Hanji snapped him out, "Master, why have you been spacing out?" T-Sung shook his head, "Sorry, just thinking." "What were you saying?" She replied, "My party's looking for a buffer priest. If you're not in a party, want to join?" She saw my class, assumed I'm support because of my debuff skills. "What a stupid thought," he muttered. "I'm sorry, but I'm going to pass." Before the words left, Hanji shouted, "Okay, we'll join." T-Sung froze, "Hey, what do you mean we'll join?" Hanji grinned, "Just look at you, clueless." Green light, thumbs up. T-Sung frowned, "What does that mean?" Hanji shouted, "You planning to spend life solo? You looked like you already saw your grandchildren." T-Sung snapped, "I don't think that far ahead." "Fine, I can't hide my skill forever," he muttered, "I'll cast debuff from behind." She stepped forward, "Sure, damage dealers are ready. Just apply debuff and relax." "Will you join?" T-Sung blushed furiously, "I'll be in your care." Later, at Sohaka Ruin West outskirts, the team moved forward. T-Sung had once won the prosperous marathon, but the city was reduced to ruins 30 years ago by the rampaging lightning python. Though defeated, its mana seeped into the earth, spawning mostly light attribute monsters. Another party member said to Gosrin, "Good that you found a debuffer, but their level's low, only 31. Gosrin shrugged, "We'll do the fighting. They just apply debuffs from behind. If anything happens, I'll cover them." The man hesitated, "Can't tell if you're off or just kind." I've played with buffers and healers, but a debuffer? First time. She laughed. Sorry, wasn't easy finding a buffer or priest. We're a party now, let's do our best. From the front, she spotted movement and shoved the man's head down. Get down! T-Sun was right behind, seeing the same threat. A lizarding mythic beast, spawned from the python's lingering mana. They moved in groups, dangerous at level 35. She shouted, everyone, get ready. Let's split up. Itzy and I handle the center. Tankers, cover the monsters in front. Debuffer, use your skills from behind. T-Sun nodded, ready? The lizard opened its mouth, firing a bolt of energy. The team dodged, tanks weaving to absorb hits. She yelled, even as tanks, is it safe to fight head-on without protection? The tanker shrugged, doesn't hurt that much. Enough to take hits and kill them. No one's here to buff or heal anyway. One man looked at T-Sun, debuff master, really? These scraps don't need your penny skills. He shouted, I'll tank all of them. Let's finish fast and find stronger prey. Suddenly, all the lizards focused on one tanker. A massive burst hit him, and the screen flashed, user cylinder smiling has died. Everyone froze. Looking across the ruins, behind the ruins, past the buildings, dozens more lizardings swarmed. She cursed, damn, were there always this many? Gazrin said, let's retreat the way we came. The man muttered, no way, the rare is already surrounded. She thought, there can't be this many. Last time I was careless. We're 4, but only 3 escape scrolls. I guess I'll have to stay. T-Sun, step forward, you keep them. Escape scrolls are expensive, don't waste one on me. Don't sacrifice yourself. She blinked, what do you mean? He looked at her, you seem like the type to do that. Being too kind can make you look like a fool. Keep the scroll for yourself. She hesitated, but if I run? He shook his head, why run? It's not dangerous yet. Then T-Sun cast Weakening Chorus and Desperate Defense, the area encircled in magic. Alright, now that the debuffs are in place, let's go for the kill. As T-Sun applied the debuff, the team shouted, let's go! One by one, they tackled the lizards, cutting them down with ease. One remarked, they're weak, just a few normal attacks and they're done. T-Sun, perched on a pillar, clapped, everyone, don't get careless. Their attack power hasn't changed. Let your guard down, and you'll end up like the tank. Everyone nodded in agreement. Biting his lips in quiet joy, T-Sun thought, this is better than I imagined. Just staying back, debuffing, and racking up XP. Should I just become a debuffer and soak it all? A shout cut through, watch out. A lizard lunged at him from behind, but Gazrin intercepted, are you okay? He nodded, thanks to you. Observing her, he thought, her agility is impressive. Had she chosen rogue or archer, she'd be even stronger. It's a shame she went mage. Soon, everyone leveled up. The woman said, we've all gained at least 1 level. The man added, anyone seeing this would think we're cheating. T-Sun grinned, did everyone enjoy the hunt? You seem a bit distant from me. I'm glad you're satisfied. The man approached, oh come on, why the down tone? I trust you till the end. The woman smiled, it's a whole new world. Buffs and heals can't compare. The man clenched his teeth, how dare you? Why compare him to those scrubs? T-Sun thought, look at them, so pathetic. Buffers are always treated like this. The woman said, this is my first time seeing a class purely for debuff. Are you sure it's not a hidden class? T-Sun laughed, no way, no hidden classes here. I'd have joined a big guild already if that were true. The man asked, so what class are you? T-Sun replied, a unique class. I can only debuff, nothing else. The man said, oh, a new class? I couldn't distinguish the grades since my second job. Did I overuse my skill without realizing it? I need to be more careful. From behind, she stepped forward, handing him a handful of great light crystals, formed from the lightning python's leftover energy. He hesitated, isn't this too much? She said, we usually give all crystals to buffers after the hunt. You get them because we hunted comfortably thanks to you. He smiled, if that's the case, I'll gratefully accept. She asked, so will you continue hunting with us? You'll help us, right? He thought, no, yes, maybe, he said, finding a party is a lot of work, isn't it? She called out, everyone hear that? He'll continue hunting with us. The team erupted with excitement. T-Sun muttered, whatever. For the first time in a long while, ordinary life like this feels fine. Hanji teased, just because a woman said so, don't let it get to you. T-Sung snapped, will you shut up? A week passed since they joined the party at Adventurer Rest International Hotel. So Haka's viewpoint showed the whole team gathered. T-Sung said, shall we disperse for today? We worked hard. She replied, let's go again tomorrow. There was no grand event or rare harvest like the Bearman Territory quest, but he was satisfied leveling a new auxiliary skill and achieving a small milestone. Back at his house, he sat down. Hanji asked, Master, are you going to do that today and return to the other world? T-Sung said, of course. I can't let a newly learned skill go to waste. First, let's take out the crystal fragment from today's hunt. He took it out, activated the skill, and the screen displayed, activating attribute absorption. Absorbed 0.36 light attribute energy from the lowest grade light crystal. Reaching level 35 unlocked a new support skill, attribute absorption, which lets him absorb attribute energy. Absorbing energy boosts resistance to that attribute, and if enough is absorbed, it can strengthen other skills. On the surface, it looks like a simple resistance boost, but with enough energy, it enhances his other abilities too. T-Sung relaxed on the sofa, saying, the problem is I don't know what that certain amount is. I'm just slowly increasing it, so when can I strengthen the skill? Anyway, it's about time to stop party hunting. Just one more level and I can learn a new skill. I guess I'll do that tomorrow. He remembered Gosrin's words. Will you hunt with me? And his face heated with a blush. I don't know, he muttered. I'll level up tomorrow and then think about it. Hanji teased, Master, you're on top of my list. The next morning, T-Sung came out of his house hearing voices. Are they all gathered today? In front of his house, a crowd had formed. Why are so many people here? Hanji, what's happening? Hanji shrugged, I don't know. Actually, they had all gathered for him, shouting, you're the debuff master, right? Form a party with me. We'll pay more. Offers kept crowding around him, but just then, Gosrin grabbed him and started pulling. Hold on tight, she said, taking out a tool watcher and a written scroll. In an instant, they teleported to another location. T-Sung said, I can't get used to teleporting. This is where we first hunted as a party, right? She smiled, I didn't expect to come back here, but it's good. I set the written scroll destination. He frowned, what the hell is going on? She said, you should see this first, showing him a message, a new world around the Sohaka ruins. Debuff Masterclass recommended by 12,311 people. Guys, go watch the Debuff Master video. Buffers will drop their spoons. Comments about T-Sung flooded in. She explained that the video of their hunting party had spread across the community. T-Sung frowned, Mr. Itzy, the one not in the video? She nodded, he already left the party, must have filmed secretly while heading elsewhere, then uploaded it. I wonder why. I don't know, he muttered, they call me Hyung to my face but backstab me behind my back. Memories of past betrayals stung, and he thought, damn, this brings back bad memories. She apologized, I shouldn't have forced you into forming a party with us. He waved it off, it's okay. You did nothing wrong. Thanks for saving me, though. Tilting her head, she asked, so what will you do now? He replied, I'll level up one more time, then move on. I can't stay here long with all these rumors. She clenched her teeth, calling his name, would you like to form a party with me? Just the two of us. Gosrin observed, there were tons of monsters when I first came, but now it's eerily quiet. Did your debuff clear them all? T-Sung hesitated, well, it's awkward. I never imagined we'd end up forming a party, just the two of us. Should I have done this alone? But how could I refuse when she suggested it with a bright smile? Hanji chimed in, Master, do you agree with me? He frowned, what do you mean? Hanji grinned, it's a vibe, a connection. T-Sung smirked, is our Hanji teasing me again? You've been quiet lately. Did something good happen? Hanji laughed, you're slow on the uptake except with girls. No wonder I feel great. I think I'm about to unlock my first skill. T-Sung nodded, come to think of it, when I leveled up you did too, so you should unlock a skill as well. Let's check it out. She sprinted over, excited, is it a pet skill? He blinked, that surprised me. She shook her head, it won't appear easily unless it's a high-tier pet. Hanji protested, hey, don't make me uncomfortable with talk like that. I was once the great spirit of the forest. I made a contract with our master, I'm equal. Not just a pet. She paused, I see. Sorry, I thought you were just a pet because you call him master. Hanji shrugged, well, I guess that's just a title. We have to use it in business relations. T-Sung watched her smile and asked, I've been curious. Why do you treat me so well? Is it because I'm a good debuffer? She smiled. That's not entirely wrong, but first, you're good looking. T-Sung blinked. What did you just say? She laughed. Just kidding. Then you have a knack for teasing, don't you? He grinned. You're more mischievous than I thought. She sat down. Actually, I first approached you for your debuffing, but now there's another reason. He raised an eyebrow. Another reason? She leaned closer. Simple. I'm interested in you, not as a debuffer master, but as a gamer. He frowned. I'm not that great of a person. She shook her head. Even if you're not great, you're still good. I could tell from watching your gameplay this past week. You didn't just handle debuffs. You monitor team members' gear, conditions, even potions meticulously. I've never seen a buffer care this much. He thought, that's just habit from being a guild leader. She shrugged. Anyway, that's why I wondered what you're like in real life. He sighed. I get it, but you don't need to be curious. Before he could finish, a massive blast hit. He shouted, what's happening? The ground shuddered, walls cracked, the earth split. A warning flashed, abnormal state, stunned. 5 seconds until recovery. When the timer ended, T-Sung's eyes snapped open. Was I stunned? The ground collapsed again. What kind of lightning was that? Behind him, she called out, are you awake? Hanji appeared, teasing, finally woke up, weakling master. T-Sung noticed her shoulder, concern flashing, you're hurt there. She waved it off, it's nothing much. Hanji added, she shielded me and got hit by debris. T-Sung frowned, I keep becoming a burden. She shook her head, it's okay. Not a big deal, and I took a potion earlier, so I'm recovering. More importantly, do you see that? He glanced around, what? They were deep underground in the Sohaka ruins, inside the Osric cult's library. T-Sung frowned, Osric cult? Never heard of them. She admitted, neither have I, but there are countless soldier and lizardling corpses. The last time lizardlings appeared in hordes might connect to this place. I've never heard of a dungeon like this in the Sohaka ruins. So this might be a hidden dungeon. She explained, exactly what it sounds like, a secret dungeon where rare species, special monsters, even quests like Grog, the Goblin Lord, appear. That means the rewards are extraordinary. His eyes brightened. She noticed they're sparkling. He muttered, but will the two of us be okay? Hidden dungeons aren't easy. Suddenly, movement caught their eyes. From a corridor, someone stumbled out, collapsing to the ground. T-Sung rushed forward, offering a healing potion. The man gasped, thank you for saving me. T-Sung asked, what happened? The man struggled to speak. I'm part of the secret society called the Guardians. We were dispatched after learning about the Osric cult and their evil plans in the Sohaka ruins, but the cult members were stronger than expected. I had no choice but to flee, yet there's still hope, though it's shameless to ask, you're the only one who can stop them. Can you thwart the Osric cult's conspiracy? T-Sung's mind raced, this is a hidden quest. The man continued, you have to destroy the 5 orbs in the research labs. If they remain, a disaster will be resurrected. Before T-Sung could react, shouting erupted. A group of people charged from the other side, pointing, there they are. She stiffened, those are the Osric cult members. T-Sung drew his weapon, I'll handle them, go protect that man, he commanded. She frowned, it's impossible with just your physical skills. He shook his head, Hanji got hurt because of me, so I have to take responsibility. But first, can you promise me something? She tilted her head, what? He leaned closer, from now on, no videos or photos of me, and promise not to spread what happened here. I'll clear this dungeon. She nodded reluctantly. T-Sung sprinted toward the enemies, and the screen flashed a message, thwart the conspiracy of the Osric cult. Destroy the energy orbs in the Osric cult research lab to stop their plot. T-Sung faced the Guildhall member and the man snarled, you bastard. Aren't you a guardian? An adventurer? T-Sung's eyes narrowed, you don't need to know that. Where's the lab? Answer, and I might spare you. The man laughed, do not make me laugh. We, the Osric cult, do not beg. Foolish heretic, coming here for our lab's secrets will cost you dearly. T-Sung straightened, fine, I'll respect your loyalty, but all your reciting is wasted on my deaf ears. Even if I paid you. The man sneered, torture me all you want, my answer won't change. T-Sung smirked, torture? Too cruel. I just want to vent, I haven't fought in a while, my body's itching. Just want to break something, nothing more. The man muttered inside, "There's a fork in the road. Right leads to the research lab." Without warning, T-Sung slammed his weapon on the man's forehead, sending him sprawling. "You little bastard." He turned to Gazrin. "Well, now we know the location." Gazrin hesitated. "Why?" T-Sung cut her off. "Why hide my strength? I'll explain everything after this quest. Wait until then." She smiled. "All right, but promise you'll tell me later." He nodded. "Yes, I will." The man from earlier just stood there, watching them both, silent. Deep in the underground ruin of Suhaka, in the main building of the Osric Cult Research Library, another man held papers, muttering, "I cannot use this." A colleague smirked. "Interesting. With all our research, do you Guardians have nothing better to do?" The high priest of the Osric cult, Romulus, glared. The bound man shouted, "Our purpose is to protect this world. We Guardians will not allow your evil plot." Romulus cut him off, slashing his sword across the man's neck to silence him, and the other priests began cleaning up the bodies. Romulus demanded, "What happened to the Guardians who escaped earlier?" A bald priest replied, "The other evangelists are pursuing them, but they are badly wounded. They probably haven't gotten far." Romulus sneered, "Pitiful Guardians. They raged, tried to stop us, but they failed. Soon, the demon god will arrive to ring the holy bell of our church." As Romulus stood above, the roof suddenly began collapsing. He screamed, "No!" From behind, T-Sung and Gazrin dashed in, shouting, "What's happening?" "Nice shot, Ms. Gazrin." Romulus bellowed, "Who are you? Guardians?" T-Sung snapped, "Why does everyone I meet keep asking that?" "I'm a Sobater, you idiot." Romulus frowned. "Did they take out all the priests outside?" Then he barked, "Researchers, increase the output. The intruders are inside. Start the resurrection ritual immediately." The researchers hit buttons, wires sparked, and lizards writhed in containers as electricity surged. The screen flashed. The resurrection ritual begins. Destroy all 5 orbs within 5 minutes to prevent the boss monster's resurrection. Countdown started. Gazrin panicked. "Oh no, it's a time attack." T-Sung urged, "Focus on the orbs. I'll handle the rest." She hesitated. "Are you sure you can do it alone?" He smirked. "Not many left. Romulus might be a nuisance, but I've got him." Romulus roared at his subordinates. "Punish that insolent heretic." T-Sung lunged forward, weaving through attacks, striking priests one by one, catching them off guard. From behind, a priest swung a weapon, aiming straight at him, but T-Sung twisted just in time, countering before the strike landed. T-Sung spun, blocking the man's strike just as a burst of green energy exploded from behind. It was aimed at him. He grabbed another man, using him as a shield, and muttered, "Wide area attacks when you have subordinates. That's a bit much." Romulus sneered, "That's ironic coming from someone using people as shields. I admit you're strong, with sharp battle sense and situational judgment." T-Sung gritted his teeth. "Even so, Romulus is no easy opponent alone. Only you and I remain. Will you surrender?" Romulus roared, "When did you think I was alone?" Suddenly, a spirit appeared behind T-Sung, guarding his neck. He spun, slashing, thinking, "This is a soul?" "No, a ghost." Romulus declared, "I am Romulus, High Priest of the Great Osric Cult. The Dark Priest, the Spirit of the Dead, is my power. As long as corpses stand by me, you cannot defeat me, heretic. You will die and become my strength." The screen flashed. "I, Romulus, High Priest of the Osric Cult, level 55. All the souls whirled around T-Sung as he sprinted toward the edge of the wall. At the end, they lunged at him, and he spun, thinking, "Every hit drains my HP. Is this a summon debuff? Physical attacks won't work. I have to end this fast. Only 3 minutes left." Romulus laughed, "You fool. You won't reach my wrath with such weak strikes." He extended his palm to attack, but T-Sung dodged, muttering, "Then I'll hit you myself." He activated Smash, delivering a heavy blow, leaping toward Romulus and striking. Romulus staggered but didn't relent, summoning more souls that swirled around T-Sung again. "Come on, thrash all you like," he jeered, "you cannot stop me or the resurrection." The screen flashed. Achieved level 45. New skill unlocked, Flying Spur, throw a weapon at the designated enemy. Without hesitation, T-Sung threw his weapon, and Romulus couldn't catch it, staring up in shock. Smirking, T-Sung said, "Divine punishment, you bastard," as the immense energy burst hit Romulus, crushing him into one of the monster-containing capsules. T-Sung smirked, "Controlling it's easier than I thought. Had I known, I'd have used it sooner, as his weapon returned to him. Now all that's left is smashing the orb, he said, directing the weapon. Meanwhile, Gazran struck the other orbs, muttering, 3 down, 2 to go. Hang on. A cultist shouted from behind, can't you just stop? Don't interfere with our ritual, then lunged to grab her injured arm. She bit him, gritting her teeth, there's no time, only 1 minute left. Tizung's weapon burst the final orb, and he punched the men aside. You look in pain, he noted, struggling with your shoulder. She winced, it kept getting in the way. Sorry. No need to apologize, he replied. Focus on destroying the last orb. She hesitated. Its skill is on cooldown for 3 minutes, he reminded her. Ordinary attacks won't work, we have to rely on your magic. If it were me, I'd at least try, he urged. Time's ticking. I'll try, she said, bracing herself, don't blame me if I miss. With 15 seconds left, she aimed, hands shaking. Tizung stepped in, holding the staff with her as energy shot toward the orb. 1 second remained, and it exploded, plummeting directly onto Romulus, who roared, I will bring disaster to this world. The screen flashed, time limit exceeded. You failed to stop the boss's revival. Orbs destroyed, 4 out of 7. Prepare, the boss will awaken soon. In the center, a massive egg began to crack. Tizung gritted his teeth, that zombie-like bastard, I was going to finish him properly. From the egg, a colossal white snake emerged. The screen updated, disaster revived. Hidden quest unlocked, defeat the revived disaster, lightning python. The whole area grew even more disastrous as the snake-like creature appeared, its massive face radiating sheer menace. Tizung grinned through clenched teeth, thinking this crazy bastard, when they spoke of resurrecting the disaster, they meant the python? But it's smaller than expected. Legends described a serpent large enough to wrap around a mountain and still have room left, yet this one seemed only 20 meters long. A red screen flashed, lightning python, resurrected through the Osric cult's evil experiments, the being that reduced Sohaka, once a prosperous city, to ruins overnight, level 70. Gazran glanced at it, noting they probably couldn't fully resurrect it because of the destroyed orb. With its level, they had to retreat for now. Fighting wasn't an option. Tizung, however, was thrilled. I can't resist something this rare. I'll handle it, go ahead. She reached for a potion. What's that? He asked. She handed it over, explaining it was a low-level potion for resistance to elemental attacks. Might not help much, but better than nothing. Tizung hesitated. Since we've come this far, we can't miss such a rare experience. I'll protect you. Let's fight together till the end, she urged. He smiled, gulping down the potion. All right, but even if we die, I won't take responsibility. In an instant, the python leapt toward them. Both dodged. One sprang upward, the other sprinted aside. Tizung felt the potion's effect immediately, his resistance to elemental attacks climbing to 50%. He muttered, even its size can't hide how fast it is. We can't afford to relax. The python thrashed wildly, smashing anything near them. Tizung planted himself in front of a massive pillar, then launched upward. Well, let's see how it handles a heavy blow, he thought, activating Fate's End, a technique that lowers the enemy's defense and magic resistance. The python's mouth gaped wide as Tizung followed up with a triple strike smash, striking its upper, middle, and lower jaw with all his might. The creature reeled from the damage, but it wasn't finished. The screen warned, Python is charging a breath attack. Its mouth glowed as it gathered a swirling electric yellow orb. Gazran leaped, pushing herself forward to hit the python's mouth with a massive blast. The python fired immediately. Tizung barely dodged, but the force slammed him to the ground. The python took heavy damage, yet it still hadn't given up. He grimaced, indeed, even a weakened hidden boss is still a hidden boss, its area attacks are disaster level. The python's body pulsed, readying another devastating strike. Gazran gasped, if it unleashes another like that, the entire lab could collapse. Let's finish this quickly before it gathers more strength, Tizung urged. I agree, but it won't wait for us, she replied. The screen warned, Python is protecting its body with a charged barrier. Magic resistance increased by 200. Approaching it will electrocute and paralyze. Tizung observed, it's pouring mana into the charged breath while reinforcing the barrier, an annoying, relentless pattern. Magic won't work, and getting close risks paralysis, she noted. He shook his head, it's not hopeless, time for a debuff. He extended his hand and cast Iron Weakness, sapping the python's health and mana. The creature screamed violently, the screen flashing. Python goes into a frenzy from intense pain. The charged barrier shattered. Barrier broken, she said. No matter how high its magic resistance, it still feels fixed damage, he smiled. With the force release, it probably can't gather mana properly and lost significant HP. This should be enough. T-Sung leaped at the python as it collected energy balls in its mouth, dodging each shot effortlessly. He extended his hand, activating speed regulation, slowing the python's movement, attack, and casting. You think I'll fall for the same tricks again? He muttered. A chain-like field formed around the python, locking it in place. He followed with scorn of the strong, boosting damage dealt while reducing damage received, then unleashed a devastating strike at the python's core. The screen announced, "Thwart the Osric cult, conspiracy quest cleared." The python's head was completely torn from its massive body, the screen flashing that the Osric cult conspiracy quest was cleared and to collect the reward from the corpse. T-Sung glanced down, noting his level had barely crept from 45 to 46. He had expected at least 2 levels. How long until level 200? The EXP was disappointing, but the rewards were decent. Behind him, Gosrin's voice rang out, "I can't believe you actually killed it." "All thanks to you," he said, but she shook her head. "That's totally a lie, he could have done it alone." Even with debuffs, a boss this strong needs a high-level party over 70, and he was only 45. He called her name. She apologized, still distracted. "I was thinking about something else for a moment," she said. "Shall we check the reward?" "Not yet," he replied, "there's an important issue first." "As I suspected, you're hiding something," she said. "Do you happen to have any rubber gloves?" he asked. She made a weird face. "No," he added, "but it looks like we'll need to dismantle the python to claim the reward." "That is indeed important," she murmured. Moments later, the notification listed python scales, blood, flesh, bones, and fangs. She stared at the pile. Even after picking only the best items, it's still this much? Large bones alone are definitely worth the effort. He exhaled deeply. The only problem is, they're enormous. She glanced at him, guessing, not satisfied with the reward? He clenched his teeth, thinking, I even dissected it, yet this is all? A hidden dungeon boss, and the only truly useful item is the python core, the energy limb of the lightning serpent, a consumable with massive attribute energy. One only, no splitting it. I feel awkward saying this, he started. You did your part, but honestly, I probably contributed more. I won't monopolize the rewards, so I'll just take the python core. Please, the rest is yours. She stared for a moment, then laughed. As expected, his quick fix plan failed. Why are you laughing all of a sudden? He asked, a little creeped out. The more I observe you, the more interesting you become, she said. You don't have to be so considerate. Take all the rewards. Yes, he said, but she shook her head. Remember the party hunt before? I'd rather gather experience and bring back rewards for you. Think of this the same way. Don't worry. I've been rewarded enough just completing this quest together. It's the most worthwhile quest I've ever done. I'll probably never forget it. He thought, was it really that great? If you insist, there's nothing I can do, he said. He hadn't expected this. Too much for his inventory. Better to split them. Hanji appeared, asking if it was finally time for this body to come out. What's up? T-Sung replied, sensing Hanji might be after the leftovers. Hanji landed on the ground, exclaiming, this clueless owner still doesn't see why this body is so awesome. He rubbed his eyes, then opened them wide, saying, Look. T-Sung replied, I'm looking. Hanji grinned, this is the new magic of this body, called the Infinite Bag. A small pouch appeared on his back. T-Sung picked up a piece of cloth, holding it like a scrap of paper. So this is a new skill? It's just an old-fashioned wrapping cloth. Let go of me, you fool, Hanji snapped. T-Sung then noticed the cloth seemed to contain a galaxy itself. Wait, what is this? The screen popped up. Pick it up, Infinite Bag, a magical artifact from the spirit world embodying the void. T-Sung's eyes widened. One major problem for ordinary users is limited inventory space, and this skill solved it instantly. He smirked, you little rascal, finally earning your keep. Hanji bowed theatrically, stealing the show is my specialty. T-Sung chuckled, want some snake? I'll treat you today. Just then, the man from earlier appeared, saying, I guess you actually defeated it. Taesung and Hamji exchanged wary looks. Who are you? Taesung asked. I didn't even notice you before. The man laughed. Don't worry, I'm not your enemy. Taesung frowned. You're the wounded guardian I saw earlier, right? He nodded, still laughing. I guess I'm stuck in this form. I tried to make a grand entrance, but now I feel a bit embarrassed. Anyway, good to see you. Sieg fried. No way, it's Han Taesung, right? And as he reached to remove his mask, Taesung quickly raised his weapon, pointing at the man. Who are you, bastard? The man replied calmly. If you activate the ruin of inside, you'll know. I am Cheon Woojin. Taesung demanded. Tell me your identity now. Who are you really? Cheon smirked. Are you the type to act before thinking, even with the ruin of inside? There's no way for you to verify my info. You know that, right? Suddenly, a burst of energy from Cheon erupted, forming a tornado around Taesung. He thought, I had momentarily forgotten. If the level gap is too great, a user's info can be hidden. Taesung asked, then why approach me in the dungeon? Your purpose isn't just showing off to a level 46, right? Cheon said, my apologies for that earlier. I tend to act before thinking, but there's a reason. I'm genuinely interested in you. Taesung scoffed. Interested in a small fry like me? Cheon replied, you may seem small fry, but you're far from forgotten. You are Du's only disciple, right? That comment snapped Taesung's eyes wide open. Cheon said, a normal user would. Well, I'll be direct. Can I, the sole disciple of Deus? Taesung froze. How did you know? Cheon laughed lightly. Don't worry, I'm the only one who knows about Deus. If you want to hear more, come to Sinserdong. I'll contact you separately soon. Then Cheon turned toward Gasran, apologizing for spoiling the fun atmosphere. She just looked at him silently. He gave her a smile and added, well then, enjoy the rest of your date. Taesung trembled, thinking, my identity's been exposed, and by someone insanely powerful. Do the other rankers know too? He reasoned, he's the only one who knows about Master Deus, but can I trust that? Could Genesis also know my identity? Damn, I was just getting started, and now it ends like this. Lost in thought, she came over, placed her hand on his cheek, and said, I don't know anything, and even if I did, I wouldn't care. I didn't record or screenshot anything, so don't worry, you have nothing to fear. Hamji, perched on her shoulder, added, if anything happens, I'll protect you, don't be scared, master. Taesung was speechless, then smiled, saying thank you both. After exiting the hidden dungeon, the party with Gasran and Hamji ended. She said she'd stay at the ruins for a while to focus on leveling up, and Taesung hadn't logged into BNW since, even though she and Hamji had rescued him. Anxiety over his identity being exposed held him back. Lying on his bed, he thought, I don't know anymore. 3 days had passed, then a message arrived. Tonight at midnight, Club Heaven in Sinserdong. Find Cheon Woojin. Taesung stared, reading the message again. Sinserdong, Gangnam area. Taesung held his mobile, thinking Cheon Woojin wasn't normal either. Why make an appointment at a club? It had been a while since he wandered the streets at night like this. He was always gaming while others went out for fun. Arriving at the club, he thought, he must be here. First time at a club, surely they won't turn me away at the door. As he stepped forward, a bodyguard blocked him, citing a dress code violation. Taesung groaned, damn, rejected for dress code at least, not looks. I'm not here to party, just meeting someone briefly, he said, hoping to slip in. The bodyguard scowled, and Taesung quickly muttered, yeah, probably won't work. Behind him, a man whispered, man in sweats at Club Heaven, and a woman hissed, stop whispering, he can hear you. The man flipped Taesung off, saying, if he hears me, here's this. Hey bum, stop causing trouble and get lost. Taesung clenched his teeth, thinking, this jerk. Just then, John appeared, placing a hand on his shoulder. Ah, Taesung, you're here. You should have dressed a bit better. Taesung replied, ah, you should have come earlier. Seeing this, the bodyguard bowed quickly. I'm sorry, didn't know you were Cheon Woojin's friend. Cheon waved it off. It's okay, he's new to the club, but that was a bit rude. If I were a guard, I'd want to kick his ass. Taesung muttered, doesn't that sound like you're telling me to listen to you? A woman nearby whispered to Cheon, he's so cool. Taesung returned the favor, flipping the man who had insulted him. Shocked, the man muttered, this can't be, this loser claiming to know Cheon. The woman laughed, oh wow, what's wrong? Cheon glanced at the man, who muttered to his partner, we're screwed, babe, no more Sinserdong for us. Inside, the club throbbed with music and people partying wildly. The DJ thumped the beat, and in the VIP room, Cheon uncorked a bottle of wine, asking, "What do you want, Dom Perignon or Armand? If you dislike champagne, I can get something else." Taesung frowned. "Even if you say that, I don't know what those are, and I didn't come here to drink anyway." Cheon shrugged. "Yeah, if you want to dance, feel free." Taesung snapped, "Geez, are you internationally trying to provoke me? You dragged me here." Cheon laughed, pouring a glass. "Your funny reaction is too entertaining, makes me want to tease you more." Taesung growled, "Don't get annoyed, who exactly are you?" Cheon leaned back. "Alright, I owe you apologies, including disrupting your last date. Let me tell you something, remember the person I disguised as? That was a real member who escaped the Osric research lab and died shortly after. I'm also a guardian like him." Taesung blinked. "Are you saying you used a dead comrade to trick me?" Cheon nodded. "No excuse, it was betrayal to them, but for you, it was worth it. I'm sorry to them, but I have no regrets." Taesung narrowed his eyes. "Okay, what do you mean by worth it? Me being a disciple of Deus?" "No, the only disciple," Cheon confirmed. "True, but my main goal was to gauge the power of someone with a hidden class like mine." Taesung's eyes widened. "I already know I'm a hidden class, but," he nearly spat his wine back into the glass. "What did you just say?" Cheon smiled. "Yeah, I'm a hidden class too." Taesung muttered. "I knew you weren't ordinary, but another hidden class? That's shocking. So you know about me because you're hidden too?" Cheon interrupted. "Well, I figured it out from this." He pinched his fingers like Taesung always does before casting a debuff. Taesung muttered, "Oddly annoying." Cheon reassured, "Don't worry about your information, even in reality. I can sense your uniqueness. No one else will know about you being Deus' disciple. Not even those gymnasts you often see." Taesung scowled. "Who cares about them? What hidden class are you? Isn't it cheating that you know everything about me?" Cheon shook his head. "I can't tell yet, you're too weak." Taesung's temper flared. "Are you going to keep doing this?" Cheon smirked. "Then let's grow stronger until I can tell you everything safely. You have to live up to the name, Disciple of Deus." Hamji greets him cheerfully, saying it's been a while, and he asks if the little troublemaker caused any issues while he was away. Hamji laughs, insisting he isn't the reckless one, then asks if things wrapped up in the other realm. He mutters that he isn't sure. His clash with Cheon Woojin ended without real answers, leaving him unsettled about that man's true intent, since it clearly isn't just about linking with another hidden class. Hamji then teases him, questioning why he came to such a sleazy spot, saying it doesn't suit him at all. He starts to explain, but Hamji interrupts with a sly remark, making him snap back that it's nothing indecent. This isn't that kind of place. It's Donghua, the city of pleasure, infamous for bars, gambling, dance, and every kind of adult entertainment possible in BNW, letting players drown in all kinds of indulgence. He clarifies that he came strictly for the underground market, planning to sell items, upgrade his gear, then move on quickly. Hamji sighs at how boring that sounds. He glances around, spotting trouble as members of the prestigious guild stir up their usual chaos even here. Inwardly he fumes, itching to crush them, but restrains himself. Hamji asks if he feels intimidated, but he scoffs, saying intimidation has nothing to do with it. You avoid dung not because it's frightening, but because it's filthy. Those arrogant pests are ones he'll trample eventually, but for now, it isn't the right moment. He urges Hamji to focus on selling the items instead. A group of Genesis Guild men surround a lone figure, one of them sneering that rumors say he carries something valuable and demanding a look, mocking his silence by calling him deaf. Another squints suspiciously, muttering that the rule of insight isn't working right, and wonders why this old man feels so unnaturally strong. A third scoffs at his partner's nerves, taunting him for always getting beaten, while a fourth reminds them that bearing the Genesis name means no one dares oppose them, so they can spout whatever nonsense they like. One pokes at the quiet man, jeering that he must be too scared to speak. Suddenly, a fist crashes into his face. It's Taesung, snapping that the constant talk of fear has finally pushed him over the edge, and if they aren't scared, they'd better prove it. The men howl in outrage, shouting that striking someone from Genesis means war, but he snarls back that it's exactly why he despises them, slamming another punch into a second thug while declaring they're worthless without their guild's name yet still parade around arrogantly. Hamji, watching with a smirk, comments that his master couldn't hold back after all. Taesung grumbles that he could have if someone hadn't been scratching beside him, to to which Hamji cheekily replies that it just looked too itchy not to. Taesung told him not to worry, those guys were always like that, though he wondered if the bullied man truly couldn't speak. Hamji asked how he'd deal with the aftermath since Genesis was a huge guild, but Taesung brushed it off, saying it wasn't even PvP worth recording, they'd just sell items, do maintenance, and leave. The bullied man eyed him cautiously. Later, at the Intervention Hotel Donghua branch, a notice popped up announcing entry into the exclusive training ground. Taesung marveled at the size, while Hamji remarked it looked small outside. Taesung explained it was a pricey service for adventurers but worth it. Hamji hopped from his shoulder, activating Retrieve Infinite Bag, dumping supplies everywhere. Taesung groaned at the noise, but Hamji puffed up, declaring that moments like this made him shine. He teased that Taesung's main weapon was supposed to be a one-handed blunt, so why buy others? Taesung replied it was cheap and simple but not his true weapon, and now was the time to choose one. A notice appeared. Nearing level 50, he had to select a main weapon. Options for the debuff master included blunt weapon, blunt mystery, spear mystery, great sword mystery, and gauntlet mystery. He mused about sticking with the blunt but wanted to test other choices, summoning a shadow box that revealed a sandbag with fixed defense and infinite health. Raising his shield, he muttered they should start with that, then hammered away at the sandbag again and again. After several strikes, he admitted the destructive power wasn't bad, but DPS felt too low, and the screen confirmed it. Total time 5005, total damage 5400. Taesung gripped a great sword, muttering that he'd give this one a try, swinging it through drills as time dragged on. Hamji yawned from the sidelines, grumbling about how long he planned to keep at it. 2 hours later, Taesung had tested nearly every weapon, finally sighing that it was pointless. Each had strengths and flaws, but none stood out. He decided the familiar one-handed blunt was still the best. Suddenly, the man from before appeared, declaring it was all meaningless. Taesung spun around, recognizing the old man, then thought uneasily about how he got inside a private facility, suspecting Cheon Woojin. He demanded to know who he was and if Guardians or that annoying guy sent him. The old man ignored the question, asking why he helped him without asking for anything. Taesung frowned, replying he didn't know what he meant, but the man suddenly shouted for him to answer, startling him. Taesung snapped back that it wasn't pity. Seeing someone unable to resist stronger foes just reminded him of his own past, and he no longer wanted to run from it. The old man smirked at the answer, calling it concise but solid, then introduced himself as Shikiro and declared he would make him stronger. A profile window appeared, revealing Shikiro's identity as an NPC, level 354, 5-star, one of the heavens. Shikiro, one of the 5-star heavens like Beetlejuice, was a martial artist who had mastered the art of handling all 18 weapons, known across the world as the Weapon Meister. That silly old man was actually him? No wonder the Ruin of Insight couldn't read him. Still, it was shocking, first entrusted by Beetlejuice, and now Shikiro, but the choice was his to make. He began to decline politely, only for Shikiro to cut him off, saying he understood he must already have a master. But the path of learning, he explained, wasn't confined to a master-disciple bond. Taesung's struggle with his main weapon was obvious, and he offered to help resolve it, not as a master, but as a senior guiding a junior. Taesung thought grimly that this guy's persuasion skill was no joke, though he wasn't wrong. If he asked his own master about weapons, he'd only be told the body itself was the ultimate weapon and tools were for the weak. Out loud, he asked if Shikiro planned to point him toward a weapon that suited him best. Shikiro scoffed, saying a man like him would never settle for just one. Instead, he promised Taesung could raise every weapon he wielded to the level of a main weapon. With that, he revealed a shining belt, Meijengjord, modeled after Thor's legendary girdle of might. Item grades climbed from normal, magic, rare, unique, legend, epic, myth, and lastly, the unconfirmed world tier. Mythic was the highest achievable grade among adventurers. Taesung's eyes nearly burst out as he blurted that Shikiro wasn't just lending but outright giving him a mythic item. Shikiro chuckled, assuring him there was no need to worry since once equipped, the belt would become a permanently bound item. Taesung replied firmly that as he had already pledged to a master, he could not take another, but out of respect he would bow to him as a senior. Dropping to his knees, he bowed deeply, prompting Shikiro to remark with amusement that though he had received bows from disciples before, this was the first from a junior. Taesung then reached out to accept the belt, thanking him, but Shikiro withheld it no matter how much he tried. Laughing, he teased that it reminded him of raising a puppy. Irritated, T-Sung snapped, demanding if he was joking, only for Shikiro to explain that chasing results without the process was meaningless. There was a vast difference between using an item and depending on it. Frustrated, T-Sung asked what he needed to do, and Shikiro simply told him to follow. They arrived at a battlefield where crowds cheered as a commentator announced Miles the Death Mace as the victor. It was a bustling gambling arena. T-Sung asked in disbelief if he was supposed to fight here, and Shikiro confirmed, saying the arena had restrictions but was still large enough to showcase a variety of fighters, making it ideal for testing weapon skills. When T-Sung asked if he really had to fight against them, Shikiro replied that battling people was far more effective for weapon mastery than fighting monsters. T-Sung thought to himself that while practical fights were indeed efficient for sharpening instincts, he doubted the value, since even the arena's strongest would only be slightly stronger NPCs. At that moment Shikiro handed him something, calling it a gift. Confused, T-Sung muttered Meganjord? Only to realize it was something else entirely. The object suddenly unraveled like a web and clung tightly to his body. Startled, he shouted in shock, staring at the fragile-looking armor that had wrapped itself around him, wondering aloud what it even was. Shikiro laughed, remarking that the more revealing the armor, the stronger its effect, then urged him to hurry out and fight using only basic skills without any techniques. T-Sung agreed, adding that if he defeated the champion he would claim the belt as promised, earning another laugh from Shikiro who teased him for being overly confident. But in his thoughts, T-Sung scoffed that Shikiro had gravely underestimated him, believing he would falter with sealed abilities and an unfamiliar weapon. With his vast combat experience from Genesis and rigorous training under his master, his stat-based strength far surpassed this arena's level. To him, this place was nothing more than a playground. Determined, he vowed to end the trial quickly and take the Meganjord belt. Soon, the referee's booming voice filled the arena, hyping the crowd as he introduced a new warrior destined to mark history, Skeleton Warrior, the Weakling Man. A spotlight fell on T-Sung as he stepped inside gripping a sword, his face burning in embarrassment at the ridiculous name. Aside from being tasteless, it was clearly Shikiro's prank. From across the field, his opponent's mocking laugh echoed, taunting that T-Sung looked every bit as weak as his title, asking if he should finish him in one blow or slowly torture him. His adversary was Maki, a level 37 fighter. T-Sung smirked, tossing back an insult, calling him a shabby Mentos. Maki bristled, promising to make him regret stepping into the ring, but T-Sung sneered again, mocking him as a tripod head and musing out loud whether the blood spilling from his insect-like skull would even be red. With a cold grin, he raised his weapon just as a notification chimed. His debuff armor was scanning the opponent's stats. The process completed, triggering a nerf on the warrior. Suddenly, a crushing wave of energy slammed into T-Sung, testing his composure. He was slammed hard to the ground, the impact rattling through his bones, leaving him stunned. The referee's voice rang out, mocking that the weakling had already crumbled in his debut match to Maki's attack. Struggling to rise, T-Sung's mind reeled in confusion, wondering why his body ached so violently when Maki's strike should not have caused such pain. His gaze shifted and the armor's specs flashed before him. Debuff armor, a cursed gear designed to suppress its wearer. Realization hit, and he muttered inwardly, debuff armor, so this was the trap. Across the arena, Maki broke into cruel laughter, admitting he didn't understand what was happening but savoring the sight of his opponent writhing. He sneered that T-Sung looked every bit the pitiful weakling his title suggested, then leaned forward with a grin, saying now it was his turn to ask what color his blood would be when he split his head open, though he claimed to already know the answer. The mantis lunged forward, blades gleaming, but T-Sung sprang upward, narrowly avoiding the strike. Though he hit the ground hard, he bounced back within a heartbeat, shifting swiftly in the opposite direction. The mantis clicked its mandibles, mocking that luck had saved him once, but daring him to evade again. T-Sung snapped back, telling it to shut up as if the chaos wasn't enough already, then launched himself forward, sword raised, driving straight for its head. The mantis blocked with a claw, scoffing that such a sluggish swing was pointless, before shoving him backward with brutal force. A warning chimed, alerting that his stats were currently 20% weaker than his enemies. Gritting his teeth, T-Sung thought about the sluggish weight in his body, realizing he would normally have avoided that blow with ease. Shikiro must have a reason, he told himself. This test wasn't just about fighting under penalty. Fine then, he decided, time to strip it all back to the basics. In the stands, Shikiro sat crunching popcorn beside Hamji, watching the clash with interest. Hamji remarked that his master looked far from his usual sharp self, noting how easily he would normally dodge with his eyes closed. Shikiro teased, asking if he was worried, but Hamji smirked that it was the opposite. He wanted to see the master who always put on a strong front finally get knocked around. Shikiro chuckled that Hamji had plenty bottled up, though his own thoughts turned sharper. Frustrating as it was now, there was no better way to deepen one's grasp of weapon mastery than being stripped of advantage. In a state where strength and skill were shackled, one had to grasp the weapon's true essence. The real question was how T-Sung would adapt when forced into weakness, after living so long in the comfort of being strong. On the arena floor, T-Sung's blade flashed, severing one of the mantis limbs clean off. The creature shrieked in agony, clutching its stump and wailing about its arm. T-Sung muttered that the cut was tougher than expected, maybe due to his sluggish movements, then warned that the next strike would claim its right arm. The mantis screeched back, vowing to kill the arrogant human. An announcement rang through the arena, declaring the shocking turn of events. The so-called weakling, who could barely stay upright, had just lopped off the mantis' arm in a single blow. Driven mad, the mantis launched a wild barrage of strikes. From the stands, Shikiro's eyes narrowed, astonished that T-Sung seemed to grasp the essence of the great sword in such a short span. Normally the weapon was about raw destructive power, carrying huge risk if it missed, and even more difficult to wield against a mantis' speed, especially while weighed down by the debuff armor. Yet T-Sung pivoted around his blade, turning it into an anchor to neutralize attacks while searching for weak points, all with the smallest of movements. Shikiro thought no one could simply learn that. It was instinct fueled by obsession, perhaps even the birth of a talent greater than his own. The mantis bellowed at him to stop hiding behind his weapon and fight head-on, but T-Sung's thoughts sharpened, so that was Shikiro's plan, to push him into crisis and force him to maximize the weapon. But what Shikiro overlooked was that T-Sung had always fought from weakness, squeezing everything around him to survive. For him, such extremes were simply the basics. The mantis hurled itself high and dove down, but T-Sung rolled aside, sending it crashing into the arena chains. Its claw lodged into the links, and it screamed about its hand. From behind, T-Sung's voice cut through, reminding that the right arm was next, before cleaving it away in one swift stroke. The mantis writhed, screaming in pain, before collapsing to the ground. The referee declared the unexpected victory, hailing the weakling as the winner, and the crowd erupted in cheers. In the stands, a man from Genesis narrowed his eyes, recognizing the fighter. Two others confirmed with certainty that it was the same face, the one responsible. The Genesis man sneered at the one who had been beaten by T-Sung, mocking that he couldn't even fight back and ended up disgraced. Stammering, the man tried to excuse himself, claiming he had been ambushed, but his superior roared at him not to spout excuses, furious that their dignity had been sullied. One of the men bowed his head, apologizing quietly, addressing him as Chongi. Chongi narrows his eyes and mutters, "Wait, that guy looks way too familiar. What's his name again? No way, he's just some weakling." One of his men answers, "His name is Siegfried Haeungnim." Chongi clicks his tongue, says he really does resemble someone he knows. The man adds, "Rumor says he runs with an old man who can't be traced even with a ruin of insight." Chongi scoffs, "Then we've got no choice but to take both of them down." A figure cloaked in a red hood interrupts, telling him it won't be as easy as he thinks, since the old man is none other than Shikiro of the 5-star heaven. Chongi's eyes widen. "Shikiro, the legendary weapon master?" The hooded figure nods, explains that he was in the stands during the fight, and even tossed aside his hat, exposing himself. Chongi demands if he's certain, insisting the famed Shikiro wouldn't appear in a place like this. The hooded figure calmly says he's heard Shikiro travels across the continent hunting rare treasures, and wherever he lingers, treasure is bound to be near. So his presence at the Donghua arena suggests exactly that. Chongi clenches his teeth, realizing the truth, muttering that dealing with Shikiro won't be easy, but adds quickly that it doesn't mean it's impossible. The hooded figure agrees, clarifying that under normal circumstances Shikiro would be untouchable, but in the current state, the situation may favor them. The arena roars as the fight drags on, another challenger stepping forward to face T-Sung. The man bursts out laughing, yelling how lucky T-Sung must feel to face him in only a week, but warns this will be his grave. His name is Hachiol, and he swings wildly while mocking him. T-Sung's blade slashes, but Hachiol dodges and counters, forcing T-Sung to weave away. Hachiol taunts louder, shouting for him to come closer. T-Sung wipes his mouth, mutters that he once learned boxing in his youth, not much else, but that's enough. In a flash, his fist slams straight into Hachio's face, shaking his head violently. Shock floods Hachio's eyes, unable to comprehend it before T-Sung smashes him again, dropping him flat to the ground. The referee's voice booms over the chaos, declaring the undefeated champion has fallen, a new legend born in DONGHUA, the weakling. Spectators jeer and laugh, remarking how amusing it is to watch him always stumble at first only to flip the tables, never once backing down. Another comments it never grows dull since he fights with a different weapon each time. The referee approaches, still astonished, saying he cannot believe T-Sung became champion in only a week, asking how it feels to stand as the new king. T-Sung exhales, says he feels like retiring already. Later at the intervention hotel, he straps on the champion's belt, his body glowing as the artifact reshapes perfectly to fit him. He runs his hand across it, thinking how wearing a mythical item lifts his pride, wondering if this strange sense of worth is why people are obsessed with luxury goods. Shikiro steps in with a grin, teasing that T-Sung's face betrays his delight, apologizing for missing the final but congratulating the champion. No, the former champion. T-Sung waves it off, saying that for the great Shikiro this is nothing. Shikiro chuckles, admitting he himself never rose to champion in so short a time. T-Sung scoffs, but Shikiro smirks, reminding him it was over 100 years ago when he first picked up a sword. T-Sung blinks, asking if Shikiro too came from an arena life. Shikiro nods, but explains the times were harsher then, when he fought only to earn a living, and compared to that, today's arena feels like child's play. T-Sung mutters old man under his breath, then asks if he stays in DONGHUA for the arena. Shikiro shakes his head, saying he has another reason and asks for his time. Together they head toward an abandoned mine on the city's outskirts, a place now called the City of Pleasure. Inside, Shikiro halts, saying they've arrived. T-Sung looks around, surprised such a place even existed here, demanding to know why they came. Shikiro answers by asking if he's heard of the three great families. T-Sung laughs, saying who doesn't know of Bimarian, Otto, Nika, and Mercedes. Shikiro nods, then presses if he knows of a special department in the Bimarian workshop. T-Sung recalls it as the home of death. Shikiro confirms, explaining it was a secret branch devoted to building ultra-high-performance weapons, and many of the continent's deadliest arms are said to have come from there, crafted by the most exceptional smith the world had ever known. His name was Herbert, a blacksmith infamous for his obsession with weapons, more crazed than any who came before him. He was so consumed by his craft that he even studied painting just to capture images of weapons after they had taken lives, a madness beyond reason. Over his lifetime he forged more than 100 lethal arms, and in his final years he began work on a masterpiece, an ultimate weapon of destruction. Shikiro explains that a piece of the treasure map to this posthumous work could be hidden here, though the map was torn in two and scattered, with only one half confirmed to exist in this place. Hearing this, T-Sung asks if that was the reason he chose to remain here, but Shikiro cuts him off, admitting he went as far as the black market to dig up this information, then crossed paths with him during a dire moment. T-Sung lowers his head, embarrassed for boasting his strength before someone like him, but Shikiro brushes it aside, saying during T-Sung's time in the arena he learned of the map's whereabouts, and now needs only to secure it. They venture deeper into the mine until they suddenly reach its end, staring down into a massive hollow below. The cavern stretches endlessly, and in its depths, countless hands rise, monsters swarming within the pit. An overwhelming danger reveals itself as the ground shakes from their numbers. Shikiro lets out a laugh, remarking that they are just a bit more than expected, while T-Sung snaps back that this is far beyond a little, pointing out Shikiro never mentioned this was a dungeon. The monsters are level 150, and T-Sung clenches his fists, wondering if he can even risk his life in a battle of this scale. Shikiro tells him not to worry, saying no matter how talented he is, he won't ask him to take on something so unreasonable. T-Sung replies that instead of words, he should look ahead, as danger already looms before them. Shikiro smirks, remarking that perhaps his growth over the past week in the arena happened only because of him, and with that he unsheathes his sword, declaring it his responsibility to act. He leaps forward without hesitation, clashing head-on with a swarm of monsters. A system notification rings out. T-Sung's experience level has risen. Realization hits him. Shikiro brought him here not just for the treasure, but to push his growth further. From within the chaos Shikiro calls back, announcing he will break through the horde and ordering him not to die, but to follow closely. Shikiro tears through the horde with incredible speed, cutting monsters down one after another while T-Sung, standing behind, steadily gains power from the carnage. In no time his level rises by 2, and he reflects that although it isn't much, it's still far more than what he could ever gain while being harassed by rankers. He likens the pace to an airplane instead of a bus and even wonders how much money the Chimera corpses might fetch, regretting not bringing Hamji along. A sudden notification chimes. He has reached level 50 and unlocked a new skill, Proof of Existence, which grants extra damage against debuffed enemies. Excited, he thinks this ability will let him defeat opponents far stronger than himself and looks around for a chance to test it. A deceptively cute little monster appears, but before he can act, it reveals its true form, morphing into a hulking miner. T-Sung hesitates at the sight, muttering it's too much, only for Shikiro to flash behind and slice the creature clean in half. He warns that judging a monster by its appearance will only end in disaster, and T-Sung admits he still has much to learn. Shikiro nods, acknowledging they've made progress, then asks if he gained anything. T-Sung replies he's advanced more than a week's worth of training in a short time and even gained new skills. Hearing this, Shikiro says that's good enough and tells him now their only task left is to locate the treasure. T-Sung finally voices the question on his mind, asking why someone renowned for wielding 18 mythical weapons carries such an ordinary sword. Shikiro chuckles, saying he passed those weapons on to his disciples because he had no use for them. Shocked, T-Sung blurts out that he never even knew he had disciples, let alone that he would give away such legendary arms. Shikiro explains that as he grew older and traveled alone, it was hard to make friends, so he took in students instead. He admits he has no idea what they're doing now, but insists it's natural for a teacher to want the best for them. T-Sung presses further, questioning why, if he has no desire for weapons, he seeks Harbert's remains. Was it truly just to hand over to him? Shikiro smiles, saying T-Sung should already be satisfied with creating Jord, and clarifies that searching for Harbert's weapon is nothing more than a hobby. He relishes the thrill of the hunt more than the prize. T-Sung remarks that he seems to value the journey more than the destination, and the old man laughs, calling it far more romantic that way. With that, they push deeper into the mine until they come before a massive stone gate carved with a single letter M. Staring at it, T-Sung thinks the symbol represents the home of death, certain that clues to Harbert's legacy lie within. Yet he finds it odd that such a door stands unguarded, without locks or spells, and warns aloud that if there's a trap inside, they should be ready. T-Sung hesitates at the ominous gate, asking what they should do, but before Shikiro can reply he coughs violently and spits blood onto the ground. Alarmed, T-Sung rushes to his side, demanding to know what's wrong, but the old man waves him off, explaining it's nothing more than a long-term illness that causes seizures from time to time. T-Sung recalls the earlier coughing and realizes it had been a warning sign. Suddenly, another voice cuts in, asking if it's true that all the Shikiros are dying. T-Sung looks up to see Chongi arriving with a hooded figure. Chongi smirks, noting that the path was cleared thanks to them, then mocks Shikiro as the dying relic and calls T-Sung the reckless fool who upset the arena, defeated champions, claimed the title, and promptly retired after causing chaos, while also meddling with his subordinates. T-Sung questions if he came here seeking revenge, but Chongi shrugs, saying he doesn't care about those weaklings, before sneering that T-Sung looks just as detestable as Han Taishang. T-Sung insists he has never seen him before, but Chongi retorts that when the Beamer Guild clashed with Genesis, their funds were stolen by a traitor who torched the hideout and fled, dragging others to switch sides, and he spits out that only a vile coward could have done it. T-Sung tries to keep the situation under control, thinking Chongi isn't the real danger. The true threat is the silent hooded man radiating power strong enough to mask their presence all this time. Knowing he can't win against him now, T-Sung resolves to stall until Shikiro recovers. He shouts provocatively, asking if Genesis clan members are allowed to act this way and whether the guild would tolerate such recklessness. Confused, Chongi snaps back, but T-Sung pushes further, claiming it's obvious Genesis is struggling in this town and that the guild has likely abandoned a spoiled brat like him. Enraged, Chongi lunges forward, his blows smashing into T-Sung's stomach and sending him crashing back. Shikiro cries out in alarm while the hooded man calmly urges Chongi to stand down, recognizing T-Sung's words as deliberate stalling. But Chongi snarls, refusing to take orders, and vows to kill him with his own hands. The hooded man remarked that his help wasn't needed and told him to keep an eye on the old man, insisting he would deal with the weakling himself. Taesung thought to himself that Choi Kyeolji's short temper hadn't changed, but thanks to that flaw he wasn't stuck in the worst case yet. He noted the bond between the hooded man and Kyeolji was purely transactional, without loyalty, and if he managed to kill Kyeolji and offer a better deal, he could avoid a bigger clash. Even if things failed, it would buy Shikiro more time. Charging in, Kyeolji scoffed that he still didn't understand the situation and raged at being ignored, striking forward with his fist, which Taesung dodged. Kyeolji ripped a rod from the wall and swung at him, but Taesung evaded again, prompting Kyeolji to sneer that his arena victory hadn't been by luck. Taesung observed that his specialty lay in coating his spear's tip with mana to launch wide attacks, yet he remained no true threat. Tightening his grip, Taesung activated his quick-draw technique and dashed forward, slashing at him. Kyeolji barely managed to block, stunned at the force behind it, wondering where such a weapon had come from and how someone with only 50 confirmed kills could wield such strength. Enraged, he launched another strike, but Taesung braced and raised a shield to block the blow. Taesung slammed his shield forward, leaving Kyeolji baffled at how he could switch seamlessly between defense and offense. In rapid succession, Taesung swapped weapons, each changed faster than the last, overwhelming him. Beaten back, Kyeolji cursed inwardly, unable to keep up with the relentless pace, realizing with dread that this bastard had been concealing his true strength. In a final surge, Taesung drew a massive sword and struck decisively, sending him crashing to the ground. Watching, Shikiro marveled at his adaptability, noting how he wielded Maijingjord for the first time yet flawlessly prevented counterattacks, thinking his faith in the boy hadn't been misplaced. His reflection was cut short when the hooded man spoke coldly that Taesung would soon surpass them, remarking Shikiro must be satisfied watching such growth. Shikiro warned that if he so much as touched the kid, he wouldn't forgive it. The hooded man retorted that if he wanted, he could have already killed them both, asking if Shikiro still hadn't realized why they were kept alive. When Shikiro guessed it was because of Herbert's masterpiece, the hooded man demanded the remaining pieces of the map to his posthumous work. Shikiro agreed to reveal them but only under one condition. Meanwhile, Taesung, exhausted and bent on the ground, recognized this was Maijingjord's special ability, and told himself that once mastered, he would grow even stronger. He thought Kyeolji was dealt with, but suddenly the man rose, coughing blood and shouting through rage that despite their 30-level gap, he would still crush him. Accusing Taesung of cheating, he called it the only explanation. Taesung wondered if his killing intent had awakened the man's hidden strength, after all. Then Kyeolji screamed at the mercenary to end it and kill them both. Taesung interrupted, demanding if he was backtracking out of fear of being hit, but the hooded man flatly refused, stunning them both. Kyeolji barked in confusion, ordering him not to joke and to kill quickly, reminding him how much money he had poured in. The hooded man replied with chilling indifference that his aim was not wealth but Herbert's legacy, explaining he only stayed as Kyeolji's mercenary to use the Genesis name as a shield, allowing him to move freely without interference. Taesung and the hooded man face Kyeolji's outburst as he yells that siding against him means turning Genesis into an enemy, but the hooded man throws off his cloak and replies coldly that once he finds the map, he will return, adding that he knows Kyeolji is nothing but an abandoned dog from Genesis. The scene shifts to the past where Kyeolji slams his hand on a table, shouting at a guild officer who orders him to leave for Dondajairi. Despite being promised funds to waste on gambling and leisure, he curses the treatment, raging that he poured wealth into Genesis. The officer retorts that it was never his money, only Beamer's guild fund, and mocks him for being too clueless to stay put. Back in the present, Kyeolji, recalling this humiliation, grips his rod and screams that he was not abandoned and does not belong in such a low place. Bursting with violent energy, his aura shakes the surroundings, and Taesung senses the madness as Kyeolji prepares to destroy everything. He charges with his weapon, but Taesung ducks under the strike, rushes forward, and smashes his fist into Kyeolji's face. Taesung declares that whatever his story may be, it has nothing to do with him, calling him a traitor who caused him to shed blood and betrayal's pain. Telling him to taste his own blade, Taesung seizes his weapon and hurls it back with the flying spur technique, piercing Kyeolji cleanly and ending him in an instant. A system message follows, announcing the dungeon clear and granting Taesung his reward. The notification rings out congratulating Taesung on clearing the dungeon and telling him to claim the reward. From the crumbled wall, a glowing treasure emerges, revealing a map. Staring at it, he realizes it marks the location of Herbert's posthumous work, but before he can act, The hooded man warns that the map belongs to him. Shocked, T-sung asks if he too came for the treasure, only for Shikiro to step in and order him to hand it over. Confused, T-sung questions him, but Shikiro explains that the long silver hair, pale face, and ominous aura mark him as the Red Cardinal. The hooded man smirks, calling it an honor to be recognized by Shikiro, and T-sung asks if he knows him. Shikiro identifies him as a heresy inquisitor of the Osric cult, a master-level fighter not to be underestimated. T-sung recalls that the cult was behind resurrecting the python at Sahaka ruins, his frustration growing as he realizes he is still too weak to stand against such power. The Red Cardinal retrieves the paper from the treasure, remarking that Shikiro's choice to yield the map in exchange for sparing T-sung's life may sound ugly but is wise. He then presses for the rest of the map pieces. Shikiro admits he does not know their location but reveals that the treasure map carries a spell. Once solved, it will resonate with the remaining pieces and reveal where they lie. Extending the paper, the Cardinal insists that Shikiro must know how to unlock the spell. Hovering in midair, the Red Cardinal tosses the paper to Shikiro, urging him not to waste time. Catching it, Shikiro agrees and casts a spell, lifting the map into the air as golden energy radiates from it. Watching the sight, T-sung realizes its exploration art, while the silver-haired man mocks that such powerful magic placed on a crude map proves Hubbard's eccentricity, then demands the rest of the map's whereabouts. Suddenly, a message flashes before T-sung declaring he now owns half the treasure map and must complete it. Everyone freezes in confusion, wondering why it appeared before him. T-sung's mind drifts back a year and a half, to a raid with Kyeolji and Ji-woo. Complaining over worthless antiques as reward, Kyeolji fumes while Jin-woo reminds him it isn't the first time. Acting as guild master, T-sung apologizes, admitting he never expected the prize to be so poor. Yet among the scraps he finds a strange paper. Dismissing Jin-woo's claim that it's garbage, he senses faint mana and decides to keep it. Snapping back to the present, his eyes widen as he recalls that forgotten piece now revealed to be part of the posthumous treasure map. Shikiro asks how such a thing is possible, and T-sung admits he picked it up long ago in a bandit den, never realizing its worth. Outraged, the Red Cardinal curses Shikiro's deceit, unleashing dark magic to seize T-sung. Pain shoots through him as the spell grips tight, but Shikiro evades the attack and counters calmly, urging the Cardinal to settle down and insisting there must be a misunderstanding. The Red Cardinal sneers that understanding will not save Shikiro now, reminding him this was never a negotiation. A system notice flares, announcing the activation of the blood barrier, and crimson walls rise around them, sealing escape as another alert declares that return and teleport scrolls are useless. Shocked, Shikiro wonders when the barrier was prepared, then remarks that the Cardinal never intended to let them go. The old man admits it freely, saying that against someone of Shikiro's strength, such measures were the least he could do, and that the boy's talent posed a threat to their cult which must be eliminated here and now. Shikiro retorts that it is the Cardinal who will fall, then with a sharp leap slashes through the hardened blood cage binding T-sung, freeing him to gasp for air. The Cardinal reels at how easily his barrier was broken, but Shikiro is already upon him, driving his blade into his chest and drawing a stream of blood. Staggering, the Cardinal realizes that without his armor he would be dead. Shikiro coldly offers him one chance: break the barrier and retreat, and his life will be spared. But clutching his wound, the Cardinal snarls that a mere surprise strike will not be enough, and he has yet to truly fight back. Shikiro replies it is unfortunate, then summons forth an array of weapons that hover around him, declaring he has not unleashed his full strength either. The Cardinal eyes the display, scoffing at their ordinariness despite the frightening aura of mana. Shikiro's gaze hardens as he answers that these simple blades will be more than enough to end him today. Both charge forward, their clash erupting with terrifying force as strikes of hardened blood lash out, and Shikiro slices them apart. Back and forth they exchange blows, his axe colliding against the Cardinal's crimson constructs in a battle that shakes the ground. T-sung watches in awe, realizing that every motion is sharp, lethal, and effortless, wondering if this is Shikiro's true ability but fearing the toll such a fight will take if it drags on with only these so-called ordinary weapons. The Cardinal scoffs that things would be different if Shikiro had not given his disciples all his blades. Narrowing his eyes, Shikiro demands what he means, only for the old man to sneer that his hypocrisy will be his undoing. Blood surges into the form of a colossal axe, its swing forcing Shikiro back as he barely holds his ground. For an instant the Cardinal thinks he has avoided a cut, but a spiked metal ball smashes into his head from the side, leaving a bruise across his face. Grinding his teeth, he mocks Shikiro's hypocrisy again. But Shikiro answers that such hypocrisy has the power to change the world and reveals he still has plenty of weapons left. In a flash, dozens of blades shimmer into existence and point at the Cardinal, who laughs and vows to shatter them all. Their fight explodes once more, blood streaks shredding through the air as weapon after weapon crumbles under the pressure, until 15 lie broken. Gloating, the Cardinal declares that aside from the axe in Shikiro's hands, all of his arms are gone, and tells him to stop bluffing. But with a cold smirk, Shikiro replies that he seems to have misunderstood. At what point did he ever say he only possessed 18 weapons? The Cardinal roars in disbelief that Shikiro has even more weapons, but Shikiro calmly replies that they are for emergencies, remarking that his foe's blood has grown thin and his strength is fading, urging to end it here. He launches the Shikiro-style spear technique, the spear flashing forward and piercing across the Cardinal's abdomen. Staggering, the Cardinal curses inwardly, realizing Shikiro had been hiding a secret weapon. Without pause, Shikiro unleashes the second form, followed by the first, chaining the techniques in devastating succession until the Cardinal collapses in defeat. T-Sung stares wide-eyed at the sheer destructive force, likening it to a railgun and marveling that such a technique was concealed all this time. Shikiro reflects that old blades would never have endured this battle and wonders how long it has been since he fought with such intensity, admitting that the Cardinal was a truly formidable foe. Yet as the enemy fades, whispers echo of broken weapons, and a sudden announcement resounds through the air. Notification: the Master Quest is complete. Defeat the 7 descendants of the 8 strong men who reigned 5 centuries ago, excluding the Master himself. Shocked, T-Sung recognizes it as the same quest given by his own teacher, struggling to accept the coincidence. In that instant, the fallen Cardinal twists into something greater, transforming into Villadimer, now at level 301, marked as the blood descendant of the Berserk demon who once bathed the continent in carnage. T-Sung trembles, realizing that though the 7 warriors of old are gone, their heirs remain, and each must be slain with Shikiro's vicious mana techniques. But fear grips him. If even the Cardinal has returned as this monster, then Shikiro is truly in peril. Conflicted, he cries inwardly to his master, desperate for guidance, only to hear the grim voice of a man admitting he never wished for this path, that it is taxing and inelegant, but Shikiro has driven him to become a monster. Shikiro asks if the man took his power from the Osric cult, but the foe replies with a twisted grin that it came from the Great One, admitting he is not yet accustomed to it, though it will suffice to kill. He vows that Shikiro's death alone will not settle his fury, swearing to take both master and disciples' heads and display them at the arena gate so their ghosts may wander forever as a spectacle. As he laughs with his head thrown back, Shikiro lunges forward, driving his fist into the man's chest, but the strike has no effect. In a flash, Shikiro is slammed to the ground, a monstrous foot pinning him as the man taunts if he rages at the thought of his disciple's death. Shikiro retorts coldly that the boy is no disciple of his, for that kid's true master stands on a level far beyond him. The devil-faced man sneers, accusing him of still resisting, and arcane spells begin swirling in the air. Shikiro, watching the formation, remarks with admiration at its beauty, recognizing the handiwork of T-Sung. The Cardinal grits his teeth, snarling at the strange power, unwilling to believe it stems from the boy. T-Sung, drawing upon faith and exploiting weakness, forces his aura into the clash. Shikiro smirks, taunting the foe for losing focus, reminding him that his opponent is here. He summons his broken weapons, gathering them all around, declaring this will be his final strike. With fierce resolve, he unleashes Shikiro-style ultimate righteousness, Rain of Blossoms. The shattered blades converge, piercing the Cardinal in a relentless storm, and the system's voice resounds with a message: the blood barrier has been lifted. Rain of Blossoms, an art born from ruins, refined through years of research until it became both culmination and guide. Countless shards drift like petals, weapons blending in harmony, so the battlefield itself appears as though flowers bloom, piercing all they touch. The Red Cardinal, struck and staggering, admits defeat with a bitter laugh, saying he dares not imagine the outcome had Shikiro wielded a true weapon. He even finds the art poetic, recalling rumors of a young man who disrupted the Sahoka ruin ritual, branded a debuffer. It was him. Spite burning in his words, he vows to kill the boy one day before vanishing in an instant. T-Sung tense mutters that the foe still had strength to escape, then rushes to Shikiro's side as he collapses. Kneeling, he asks if he is alright, but Shikiro responds with faint humor that the trick was impressive, a timely aid that secured victory. He warns that T-Sung must now grow stronger, for he has become a target of both the Red Cardinal and the Osric cult. T-Sung insists he should focus on treatment, but Shikiro shakes his head, knowing his body has long been spent, only clinging by force of will. With weary hands he offers a manuscript, explaining it holds all his martial techniques, far beneath the boy's true master, yet still of worth. T-Sung protests, calling him a master as well, begging him not to die, to continue guiding him. In that moment, memory drifts back to Shikiro's youth, when the announcement rang across DONGHUA of a new champion, Shikiro. A man, smiling, congratulates him with disbelief, remarking how far the once prickly boy has come. Shikiro, confused, thanks him curtly, only for the man to remind him they've fought side by side for over a decade. With time passing swiftly, he asks of Shikiro's plans. The young champion replies with determination that he will adventure across the world, seek new experiences, perhaps find treasure, and take in disciples, many of them. The man looks at him closely, remarking that he has always lived as though shouldering all the world's loneliness, then presses, almost gently, if there is a deeper reason behind his wish to gather disciples. Shikiro once stretched out his hand with quiet resolve, admitting he knew his own limits well. He could never be the strongest, but by training many disciples, he believed at least one would rise as a true hero capable of changing the world. That was his plan, to stake everything on a disciple's future. Now, as he sits before T-Sung, his voice steadies as he declares that he considers him his disciple, the one he will place his bet on. Brave New World, though called Another World, is in truth a virtual realm crafted by Hive, its adventurers and NPCs alike existing only within the system. Even Master Deus and Shikiro are no exception to this. Yet, despite being bound to such a world, one truth remains clear to T-Sung: he has learned so much since meeting him. Though their time together was brief, it was enough for him to grow, and he vows to treasure every moment. With firm resolve, he promises that even if he does not yet understand the weight of Shikiro's gamble, he will never let it go to waste, never disappoint the master who entrusted everything to him. The next day, T-Sung receives a message from Gazrin, her words polite yet carrying a hint of warmth, as she greets him and asks if he too will be joining the event hosted by the Maurician Empire, admitting she has a feeling he would. Reading it, Hamji pipes up, teasing if the boss has heard from the girl again, pointing out that her tone makes it obvious she longs for him. He recalls her name, Gazrin. T-Sung replies with a brief greeting, asking if she is still at the Sohaka ruins, then types out his response that if the event she means is under the Maurician Empire, she must be talking about the surviving battle. The surviving battle has recently stirred heated talk in BNW. It is a ruthless competition set on Fairy Island, at the center of the White Archipelago, where participants from all over fight until only one remains. The victor not only earns enormous rewards but also the title of monarch over a nation, cementing their place among the strongest. Yet what sets the tournament ablaze with controversy is its brutal penalty. Those who die in the event suffer a reset of all abilities, their transcendental ruins sealed for 10 long years, leaving them unable to progress. This rule has sparked endless debate within the BNW community, many seeing it as a dangerous imbalance. To T-Sung though, the severity of it reeks of imperial manipulation, a scheme only the Empire would dare enforce. Hamji curiously asks if he will join the event, but T-Sung flatly refuses, saying with 10,000 participants, any number of them could outmatch him, and if he fails, he would be stuck at level 1 for 10 long years. Inwardly, he realizes Gazrin's message may have been a subtle warning not to enter, urging him to stay away from the bloodshed. He decides to leave the tournament to others since his path lies elsewhere. Spotting the map, Hanji's eyes light up as he asks if they are really going after treasure. T-Sung replies that he will first confirm whether it is within reach at his current level before making a move, reminding him there is no rush since the map's secret is his alone. With that, he sets off holding the worn parchment, muttering about the ship bound for the southern seas. Soon, before them stands a battered, dust-covered vessel. Hamji eyes it skeptically, wondering aloud if the wreck could even sail, while T-Sung sighs that the journey already looks rough from the very start. At Hive HQ USA, alerts flooded the screens, stirring heated discussion over whether the BNW over-maneuvering event was genuine gameplay or Hive manipulating rotations. One executive eyed the reports and demanded clarity, saying speculation had already sparked conspiracy theories and stock chaos, and pressed the vice chairman for answers. Oppenheimer, calm yet firm, repeated what he had always said, that their authority only extended to BNW's technical aspects like bugs and server stability, while the events and narratives were entirely driven by NPCs and players. Deputy Director Cha countered, pointing out the issue went beyond gameplay since the event directly tied into account risks and the sealing of Transcendence ruins. Oppenheimer, however, insisted nothing could be done, reminding him that whatever happened in that world must be resolved inside it, while their duty was to maintain the environment for it to thrive. Cha admitted that even after 3 years with the company, he still barely grasped the depths of the game, noting this was not the first strange occurrence. Oppenheimer smiled faintly, saying that unpredictability was what made it exciting, since not even he nor the chairman knew how the story would progress, especially when the creed of that world remained unknown. Inside the shabby-looking airship soaring through the skies, Hamji shouted with excitement that no one could stop them now, but T-Sung hushed him, warning they might get thrown out if he kept making noise since they were only passengers, then admitted the old ship flew better than expected and wondered if he had worried too much. Just then, a drunken pirate stumbled over, claiming the vessel's worn state was nothing but vintage charm. Startled, T-Sung excused himself to the captain, asking if it was safe for him to be away from the helm, but the man laughed, saying young people scare too easily, and explained he simply locked the wheel to keep course. T-Sung, uneasy, wondered if the captain even had a license, but the man waved it off, quoting an old saying that with the sky and wind, one could go anywhere, and promised clear skies all day. Annoyed, T-Sung muttered that was hardly reassuring before retreating to his room, recalling they had about an hour before reaching their destination, enough time to use for maintenance. He pulled out the Python core from the Sahoka ruins and activated attribute absorption, the screen announcing that 60 points of light energy had been absorbed, raising his resistance and allowing him to strengthen his skills. 2 new techniques manifested, Lightning Flying Spur and Heaven's Wrath, and he noted with satisfaction how both, being wide-area lightning attacks, fit perfectly with his strategy, saving him the trouble of picking off enemies one at a time. Studying quietly in his cabin, T-Sung flipped through a book detailing Shikiro's secret techniques. Siamjin, born from imitating the spirit beast that guided the compass, consisted of 4 forms, the Zeroth, first, second, and third styles, while the profound Manhwa embodied harmony across every weapon. As his eyes trailed over the words, fatigue took over, and he drifted into sleep. A sudden commotion jolted him awake, and he muttered in surprise at having dozed off before catching the captain's frantic voice yelling about a typhoon ahead. Confused, T-Sung demanded an explanation, only to step outside and witness a massive cyclone forming, lightning crackling across the darkening sky. Shocked, he muttered how dire the situation was as Hanji panicked, calling out that they were doomed. T-Sung urged the captain to turn the rudder before the ship crashed, but the man, boasting of his 20 years at the helm, staggered drunkenly as chaos mounted. A violent jolt sent his head smacking into the engine, causing it to rupture with a deafening blast. A system warning flashed that the airship's engine had failed due to poor upkeep and age. Clinging desperately to the ship's main mast, T-Sung cried out in frustration at the timing, while the captain insisted they could still land safely even without power. Teeth gritted, T-Sung shouted that he no longer believed a word of it, his mind racing with the grim thought that this might be the end, even if he were to return somehow after death. Chaos deepens as Hamji's safety hangs in the balance, and T-Sung, furious at the drunken captain, spins around and boots him into his own quarters, shouting about his incompetence and the unfixed mop stuck in the wheel. The captain staggers up in protest, claiming he never neglected maintenance by choice but was pressured into debt by a tavern owner, while T-Sung roars that he should make the news for knowingly flying a broken ship. Both clutch the wheel in a heated struggle, yelling insults back and forth, until Hamji screams at them to watch ahead. Glass shatters at the bow as the cyclone slams the vessel, spinning it wildly before an alert flashes that they pierced a barrier and entered the game. Participant count 10,000 suddenly surging to 10,001. The next moment, the captain drifts helplessly on a lake, cursing his luck and vowing never to ride another airship, while setting out to find Hamji. Elsewhere, a glowing ruin mark forms on T-Sung's hand, confirming Hamji is alive, though his own location is unknown. Standing in Erangel District 9, he decides to climb higher for a vantage point, racing uphill until the cliff's edge reveals a distant village that surely must have a gate. Resolute, he heads down toward it, but before he can move far, the skies darken with fleets of airships descending. Staring upward in disbelief, he wonders if war has broken out, only for a system screen to flicker before his eyes with a grim alert. Survival battle about to begin. Breath catching, T-Sung mutters that this madness is only getting worse. T-Sung too receives the flashing alert that the survival battle is about to begin, muttering in disbelief as the lake's surface splits and a towering altar rises, glowing under a crimson beam. Airships swarm overhead while another message echoes. The suppressor is activating, self-destruction sequence initiated. T-Sung grips his head in frustration, thinking this insanity won't stop, but deciding to reach the village first. Before he can move, a mechanical figure approaches, greeting him with a flat voice and introducing itself as Reception 9, the guide for the game. It quickly outlines the rules. Defeated players will drop their most valuable item while everything else vanishes. Safe zones allow rest, but collapse means instant death, and after time passes, all areas except Zone 13 will be wiped out. With a curt farewell wishing him survival and kingship, the robot vanishes. T-Sung shouts after it, insisting he isn't a participant, then sinks into despair as he realizes it's useless. The rules won't bend, and survival demands fighting. Above, airships descend and release waves of participants who leap toward the island. A timer flares across the sky, counting down 5 seconds before erupting into chaos as combatants clash, stabbing and slashing until the shoreline becomes a scene of carnage. Watching from the cliff, T-Sung mutters that hell has begun, predicting half will fall on the beach alone. Zone 13 might be safest, though others surely think the same. Just as he weighs his T-Sung reacts instantly, raising his shield as the arrow crashes against it, then counters with a swing of his blunt weapon. The screen flashes with a system prompt, quick drawing activated. Cursing under his breath that someone already climbed up here, he charges forward and smashes down the attacker, finishing him with full force. As the body crumples, he mutters about weaklings reaching this high, worrying more will follow soon. Hearing footsteps, he quickly slips into the bushes, watching the group approaching. Recognizing them, he whispers that they're GT members, ranked among the top 10 guilds. Though their levels appear modest, he suspects more allies lurk nearby. The fallen enemy drops 2 rare treasures, a soul separation device and a necklace of enlightenment belonging to the war goddess Kandar. T-Sung freezes, stunned at such mythical loot, thinking dual classing is possible with it. Not a flimsy hybrid but a complete second class like Night Mage. Why would such a priceless relic drop from such a weak foe? Meanwhile, one woman snatches up the necklace, marveling aloud that it grants dual class. Her teammate notes the soul device's worth, and she smirks, saying its value alone could buy a building in Gangnam. Another warns her to stay cautious, calling it a potential trap, but insists he should hold it instead. She refuses, snapping that she found it first. He reminds her survival eliminates ownership anyway, but before their quarrel resolves, a third man behind them laughs, then brutally cleaves both of them down. He snatches the necklace, declaring he's never betrayed anyone since he was never on their side, so keeping it is fair. His triumph is short-lived as a woman suddenly appears, cutting him down in a flash. Standing over the carnage, she coldly states the necklace was hers from the beginning, revealing herself as BJ Raptor, a level 198 Azura and ranked competitor. He has nothing to lose, yet T-Sung wonders what this guy has been doing all along. The man sneers that while others plotted against each other, he never betrayed anyone. He simply played for himself. In truth, he has been showered with massive donations, thanking viewers with cheerful gratitude as his stream chat explodes with support. Laughing, he reveals he had been disguised as a GT member all along, fooling them while snatching the soul separation device. He muses aloud whether to sell it for a fortune or use it for a dual class, his viewers spamming encouragement, some urging him to pick mage, others praising his luck. Hidden in the bushes, T-Sung realizes in shock that the man is a big streamer, his donations flooding in by the second. He grits his teeth, asking why someone so rich and popular came here just to stomp on the hopes of people like him. Determined to wait it out, he decides to stay hidden, until the man suddenly grins and says he has something interesting. With a dramatic gesture, he reveals Hamji, chuckling that he found the creature earlier and tried to make it a pet, only to discover it already has a master. He smirks about killing the owner to claim the contract. Struggling in his grip, Hamji snaps back that his master would never lose to the likes of him, warning him to release him before things get ugly. The man laughs, mocking that no one stronger than him is in this competition, asking if the creature's master is really that tough. Hamji retorts with pride that his master could crush someone like him with ease, and even if he had no owner, he would never contract with such an ill-mannered brat. Irritated, the man growls that the insults are going too far, threatening to blow Hamji up and mocking whether his master will even come save him. At that moment, Taesung steps from the shadows, voice sharp as he commands him to drop Hamji. The man turns, eyes widening before scoffing with a laugh, calling him weak. Taesung shouts furiously for him to put Hamji down, but the man yawns that he's tired of this already. Taesung fires off attacks in every direction, yet the man dodges with ease, mocking that he thought Taesung might be strong since he entered so boldly, only to see he's just level 53. He sneers about the massive gap in strength, saying a weakling like this doesn't even make good streaming content. With a smirk, he tosses Hamji like a football, and when Taesung instinctively turns to track his companion, the man lunges at him. Taesung narrowly avoids the strike, teeth clenched as the man laughs at his reflexes. He curses himself for letting rage cloud his judgment, admitting he always knew this was a battle he couldn't win. Forcing himself to think clearly, he plans to retreat, fall back toward the village, and regroup with Hamji before escaping to another zone. But before he can act, the man leaps above him with a grin, shouting he'll help speed things along, then slams Taesung into the ground. Grinning at his camera, he tells his viewers that even though the opponent is a noob, he'll at least make sure to get the right streaming angle this time. Groaning as he hits the dirt, Taesung calls him a lunatic under his breath. Meanwhile, in the distance, a blast draws the attention of other players. An old man stares, muttering that whoever caused it must be monstrously strong and orders the group to stay sharp. Around them, other fighters clash, victories unfolding in quick succession. Back near the impact site, Taesung forces himself to run, but the man barrels after him, cutting down trees with each strike, taunting loudly that his momentum is gone. He jeers if Taesung plans to keep fleeing forever or if he'll finally stand and give him a proper fight. The man scoffs inwardly, calling Taesung a fool for thinking he wouldn't notice his plan. He mocks the idea that he'd really believe Taesung was running to the village just to slip away through another portal, admitting he held back at first hoping for good streaming content but finds his evasion tedious. With a sneer, he declares it's time to end this game of tag. Just then, chains of debuff coil around him, the system flashing that his attack speed, movement speed, and casting speed are reduced. He bursts into laughter, realizing this is why Taesung carries the title of Debuff Master, not for damage but for crippling skills. He admits Taesung is more interesting than expected, yet claims it still won't work on him. Attempting to purge the chains with his light attribute, he's shocked to see even that fails, thinking this guy has a debuff to counter everything. Suddenly, a blunt weapon bounces toward him, and before he can react, Taesung appears from behind. He explains that his lightning spear grows stronger with every rebound, then triggers his scorn skill, demanding at least a stun for all the effort. But the man grins, reminding him he fought well, then unleashes his Azura technique, shattering the chains in a massive explosion. Taesung's weapon breaks apart, and he collapses to the ground, his body covered in scratches, mind sinking into regret that he couldn't even handle such an opponent, and should have fled, though dying would have been the same. The man steps closer, impressed that Taesung survived such a blow, saying most would have died instantly, admitting his resilience is remarkable. He even concedes Taesung is stronger than the GT players he crushed earlier, but still laughs at the absurdity of a level 53 standing against level 1898. As live comments flood in urging him to finish it quickly, he smirks and asks his viewers if they'd be willing to sponsor a friend. An alert suddenly flashes across the screen, bombing in Area 9 in 1 minute. The man curses, realizing the countdown has already begun and wonders if this place is indeed Area 9. He debates whether to kill Taesung quickly and escape, asking the viewers for advice. A viewer suddenly donates 10 million won, bluntly stating that Taesung will die in the blast anyway, so just leave him. Seeing the staggering amount, the man smirks and agrees, remarking that Taesung is lucky to be spared thanks to the big spender. On the ground, Taesung thinks bitterly that luck truly makes no sense, meeting insane people like this and ending up in such a mess. He groans, wanting to drink a potion and recover enough strength to escape, his thoughts drifting to his severed arms and whether Hamji is safe, hoping he isn't in the blast zone. But he cuts himself off, realizing it isn't the time to worry about others. His own death looms before him. Fear creeps in, his mind spiraling as he admits he doesn't want to die, wishing he could call for his master's help, questioning how everything went so wrong. Exhaustion weighs on him, and in a fleeting thought, he apologizes to his mother. Above him, a spell begins to form as the countdown reaches 2, 1, and finally 0. The bombs detonate, the area consumed in a violent explosion, and the system message coldly declares, Taesung has died. 5 days after his death in BMW, Taesung sits at home staring at his phone, groaning over the 3,000 debt that still hangs over him along with income tax somehow greater than the debt itself. He wonders how things spiraled like this, lamenting that just days ago money wasn't even an issue. If only he had liquidated his items sooner. The thought drives him to tears, shouting that it's all because of that damned captain, swearing vengeance on the old man. With a bitter laugh, he gulps down his drink, cursing that just when life seemed to brighten, he's back to being a broke, jobless debtor. A message notification pops up from Wu, who brushes him off as unlucky for not dying yet. Clicking open, he's dragged once again into BMW as the client greets him. User authenticated. Welcome to the Nürburg Continent, Intervention Hotel, Arangel Zone 12 branch. Shocked, he rises from the bed muttering that this is impossible. Checking his profile, his eyes widen to see his level only dropped by 3, still standing at 50. He blurts out in disbelief, wondering how this even happened. Suddenly Hamji rushes to him in tears, and Taesung quickly asks if his body is fine, noticing his injuries. Hamji sobs that it isn't time to worry about him, confessing he thought they would never meet again because of what happened. Taesung replies that he's the one at fault, regretting not protecting him. At that moment, Cheon appears from the side, reminding them that he had said Taesung wasn't dead. Blinking in recognition, Taesung stares and asks if it's really Cheon Woojin and whether he's actually an operator. Cheon denies it, explaining that even though Taesung died, his ruin of transcendence was never compromised. Taesung presses for answers, asking if this is a bug. Cheon calmly explains his guess, that Taesung avoided the aura of self-destruction in the Vale of Erangel because he crash-landed before it activated. Since he wasn't afflicted when he died, the system treated it as a normal death, sparing him from total ruin. Taesung exhales in relief, admitting he nearly lost it with fear, then curiously asks how Cheon even ended up here and whether he too joined the tournament. Cheon laughs, saying if he had joined, the game would have ended already, and Taesung snaps at him to stop bragging. Cheon waves it off, admitting he too is just an uninvited guest, explaining he forced his way in and paid the price, showing his bruised hand before shifting the talk to survival. He lays out the 4 major forces in Erangel. First, a group of bitter players like Taesung, then the big guilds GT and Premier, and finally the one who crushed him, BJ Raptor, backed by Genesis and Lequang Jin. Shocked, Taesung asks if Raptor belongs to geniuses, but Cheon corrects him, saying not anymore. Taesung mutters he never realized the top guilds were involved, realizing players like them were just numbers. Cheon smirks, saying at least only 3 from the top 10 are in it. When Taesung wonders about guilds like Seraphine, Cheon explains they avoid risky events since they have too much to lose, unlike GT, Premier, and Genesis who gamble for revival. He points out GT and Premier padded teams with mid-level players, aiming for numbers over quality, while Genesis secretly recruited someone who could dominate alone, Raptor. Taesung reasons that even if Raptor falls, Genesis risks little, then asks what deal lured him into such danger. Cheon reveals it was the Vice Guild Master seat, which leaves Taesung stunned. Cheon continues, saying Raptor was hailed as a genius since youth, but fame soured into a curse with scandals of profanity, mocking developers, and account boosting, leaving him with only streaming despite being the youngest ranker. Taesung admits he hasn't watched streams lately but remembers how popular he was, living off endless donations, then sighs that those who already have still keep gaining. Cheon shrugs, adding Raptor must feel uneasy, like his talent is rotting away. Taesung asks if he means the loneliness of the strong, but Cheon brushes past it, explaining that Genesis's Guild Master Desire promised Raptor the Vice Guild Master seat and a pro-gamer debut if he wins the survival battle. He adds that Chai Hyun Suk of Desire is soon to become chairman of the Pro-Gamer Association, and Raptor intends to hand over the Pro Territory and Kingship rewards to him, letting Chai build the first adventurer kingdom ruled by players instead of NPCs. Overwhelmed, Taesung groans that his head hurts, cursing how Chai always overreaches with ambition, from guilds to kingdoms. He then challenges Cheon, saying he must have come for more than gossip, so why not win this thing himself if he's being dragged into it? Taesung admits it's easier said than done, recalling Raptor's broadcast that felt like being beaten into the ground on a stormy day, then suddenly asks if Cheon was the one who saved him with that donation. Cheon answers that in a direct fight he never stood a chance, but with his tip there might still be a way. Curious, Taesung presses him to reveal it, and Cheon smirks, saying it's a tip only he can use. Later, T-Sung forces a smile, admitting the withers feel good and that he knew he had to remain in BNW. Hamji lowers his head, blaming himself, but T-Sung tells him to rest, promising to avenge him. Cheon assures he will take care of Hamji, easing his burden, and T-Sung thanks him, promising to buy him a meal later. Cheon laughs in disbelief, teasing that the stingiest man alive is offering food, and T-Sung warns not to expect much since he is broke. Cheon smirks that they can talk about it if he survives, wishing him luck. T-Sung vows he will not lose again, then runs off toward the battlefield, scanning the area and wondering if everyone already moved to the 13th zone, though it remains inactive, while Zone 8 has become the gathering place for the final clash. Entering, he spots a man slammed against a wall while others surround him, mocking that the stubborn fools should just die. They call him a burden unfit to survive, but as they close in, someone strikes them down from behind. When the second turns, a blunt weapon slams him away, revealing T-Sung as the attacker. The beaten man stares in awe, thinking it incredible that someone with seemingly lower level defeated them all at once. He thanks T-Sung for saving him, but T-Sung levels his weapon at him and coldly declares that there is a misunderstanding. He too must die here. T-Sung thinks to himself that a golem maker lasting this long is surprising for a non-combat class, yet rather than letting him suffer it might be better to end things quickly. Just then, the man clings to his leg, crying out that if he dies, his mother will die too. T-Sung urges him to calm down, wondering why he suddenly brings up something so heavy, while the man begs desperately to be spared. T-Sung replies that people can be troublesome but tells him if he wants to live, then stop hesitating and stand up fast since the place is dangerous. He hands him a health potion and moves on, while the man shouts gratefully from behind that he will surely repay the favor someday. T-Sung sighs inwardly, thinking he is too soft, his resolve always shaken when it comes to someone mentioning a mother, before telling himself to move forward. A notification then appears, stating that 63 hours have passed in battle survival and that inhalation will soon cover zones 8 and 12 while zone 13 remains inactive. Seeing this, Raptor bursts into tears, lamenting that the tournament is reaching its end, his body ruined after 5 sleepless nights. 2 people nearby glance toward him, whispering about how many he might have killed alone, while another points out that the bombing will start soon and they must find a way into the entrance. They murmur that though he is strong, in his current state he should be beatable, scoffing that even geniuses reach their limit. An old man urges them to cooperate and strike together until Zone 13, rallying the group of 4 to 5 fighters to prepare. Hearing this, Raptor smirks, saying those rats are finally crawling out and seem unsettled, then asks if it is time to move. With that, he steps inside the tunnel, prompting the others to shout that he is fleeing and they must chase him down. Only 3 seconds remain on the timer as the group dashes into the tunnel, but lightning and bombs rain down, striking many while a few barely slip through. Raptor watches coldly, scoffing that they act as if they are the sole survivors, then charges forward and crushes them all, declaring they deserve nothing but defeat. After the slaughter, he mutters that GT and Premier are nothing but insects, finding the battle dull. Entering Zone 13, he is met by falling snow, marvels at the breathtaking scene, and shouts that he alone stands alive, wondering aloud if the game is already over. But the screen flashes, revealing 3 participants remain. Irritated, he counts and realizes 2 others still breathe, demanding they hurry up and face him. Just then, a car bursts from the tunnel and rams into him, sending him crashing to the ground as he spits blood in fury, growling to know who dares such an attack. From the vehicle steps the man T-Sung once saved, making Raptor sneer that he lived through the bombing after all, perhaps thanks to his golem. The man inside proudly claims his range wagon is indestructible, yet a message instantly announces its durability has hit 0 and the machine is destroyed, leaving him clutching nothing but a staring. Raptor wastes no time, slamming him brutally to the ground and snarling that surviving the bombing wasn't enough, he even dared to wound him. Calling him the second person to surpass him in this competition, he remarks that the first fell just as he will now, before crushing him entirely. From his body, Raptor acquires 4 mother rings, crafted in honor of a deceased artisan's mother. Gazing at them, he mocks that this is quite a harvest in her name before deciding to seek out the remaining foe. Yet before he can react, T-Sung stands right behind him, startling him with how undetected he was. Frustrated, Raptor wonders why his face seems familiar. T-Sung lifts the ring, remarking that the plea about his mother had not been a mere bluff. Raptor begins to speak but T-Sung cuts him off, saying he owes him plenty from before, then mocks that fighting endlessly while he was away must have been hard, promising to finally give him some rest. T-Sung chuckles, remarking that non-stop fighting while he was away must have been grueling and promises to give Raptor a break soon. Raptor glares, accusing him of being the one who resisted to the end only to be utterly defeated. T-Sung grits his teeth, thinking what a bastard. Raptor shakes his head in disbelief, recalling how he dismembered T-Sung's limbs to prevent escape, marveling at his tenacious vitality. He wonders if T-Sung's presence now isn't due to his condition, perhaps a cloak, noting items he hadn't noticed before, and questions what happened to the weakling 3 hours ago. T-Sung asks Cheon about tips, and Cheon confirms he's immune to the aura of self-destruction, free from Erengel's restrictions, able to enter obliterated areas, effectively the only one able to exploit map cheats. T-Sung worries about dying again, but Cheon reassures him, emphasizing that no one else knows of these privileges, yet a second death could be fatal. Confident, T-Sung steps into the restrictive zone and finds it safe, marveling that he can freely enter forbidden areas. He decides to conserve his strength while the battle rages outside, quietly leveling up from abandoned loot after the bombing while Raptor fights others. Among the spoils, he secures a goblin stone fast weapon and a camouflage clogged weapon, but realizes raw loot isn't enough. He still needs a way to become stronger, remembering something crucial yet to act upon. T-Sung stands before Raptor as the live stream floods with comments, some cheering, some doubtful. One asks if he'll lose, and Raptor scoffs, thinking those clueless fans have no idea. He grumbles, eager to win and make a pro debut, cursing the broadcast as he readies himself. T-Sung calmly addresses him, and Raptor retorts that a tired level 50 player is no threat. Raptor lunges, firing at T-Sung, but T-Sung dodges effortlessly, teasing that upsets happen even in sports, and hurls his blunt weapon at Raptor. Raptor crashes to the ground, stunned by the sudden strength boost from T-Sung's gear, while T-Sung smirks, saying it's only the beginning. Raptor wonders where he learned such bold talk. Comments start favoring T-Sung, making Raptor fume, questioning who these supporters are. T-Sung calls out to the viewers, apologizing to Raptor's fans and promising to humble the arrogant golden boy. With that, he removes his cloak, sparking a wave of excited comments backing him. On the other side, Humji teases, asking who's moving now, and Cheon sighs, noting it's the 10th time he's asked and insisting it's all going as planned. He thinks T-Sung's mindless farming wasn't a bad idea. The stone fist of Golem returns to a punch, slow but mitigated by quick silver gloves boosting attack speed 20%. At the airing of greed for endurance, ignoring grudges, while grudge-specific gear suits one-on-one fights. T-Sung remains superior by game standards, yet Raptor's raw physical ranking keeps the balance precarious. Taking a deep breath, T-Sung laughs, mocking Raptor for thinking he can be brushed off, scolding clueless viewers in the comments. Raptor fumes, claiming T-Sung should have killed him earlier, warning of regret. T-Sung counters, saying much is still hidden, and Raptor smirks, intrigued. T-Sung declares the start of the final showdown, the character deletion bet, as tension spikes on the broadcast. Raptor leaps at T-Sung, and T-Sung leaps back, both striking fiercely. Raptor thinks no matter how strong this guy has gotten, he's still weaker. But why am I anxious? This calm look in his eyes, I don't like it. He shouts, I don't like that look in your eyes. Raptor throws his sword, but T-Sung activates Quick Draw, a shield appearing to block the attack. T-Sung thinks he's broken through, but Raptor leaps above, hurling him far. T-Sung struggles to balance, and Raptor charges again, shouting, Hey, you disabled coward, acting tough and now running away? T-Sung runs, and Raptor wonders if this is a trap like last time. Moving faster, he strikes again but slices a tree instead. T-Sung grabs it and hurls it back. Raptor clutches it, thinking, You arrogant fool, stop wasting my time and die already. He notices the light attribute spear throw skill from before, blocking his view with a tree then throwing a spear. Is such a combo possible in one moment? Spear in hand, Raptor warns, Don't be cocky. T-Sung charges, using Sekiro-style spear with lightning, striking powerfully. Raptor, holding his sword, thinks damn, that hurt, almost died, you bastard. T-Sung thinks, I aimed for the solar plexus, did I miss? Mastering the skill perfectly from a brief manual glance is unlikely. His shoulder aches, standing up. Raptor laughs, I guess you overdid it. No matter where you got the skill, knowing your place, there's no way a low-level player using a high-level skill wouldn't risk injury. T-Sung steadies himself, shoulder burning, ready for the next strike. T-Sung senses a sword aura forming with his mana, and a Buddhist-like figure appears around Raptor. Raptor shouts, "I'm fed up fighting you, just die already." T-Sung unleashes Azura Strike, swirling his weapon wildly. Memories flood back. He falls to the ground, shouting, "Master, I cannot go further. I'll die if I keep pushing." Elder Han scoffs, "What an empathetic fool, whining over a small trial. If you lack talent, mustn't you at least put in effort? How long before you become strongest lying here like this?" T-Sung asks, "Do I really have no talent?" Elder Han replies, "What are you saying? Someone like you may not reach the top with just training. Shouldn't I take a stronger disciple?" T-Sung hesitates, doubting his ability even at basic training. Elder Han points at him, and a huge burst shatters the mountain behind T-Sung. T-Sung yells, "Master, even if I'm pathetic, are you trying to kill me?" Elder Han says, "It's your eyes. You may be trash, but your eyes, those that never flinch facing the strongest, are worth salvaging." T-Sung asks, "My eyesight?" Elder Han pokes his eyes, laughing, "Not those. The eyes that stayed fixed on my attacks without turning away. Unlike your fighting spirit or skill, that's what matters." T-Sung thinks he can barely react. Elder Han says, "Good eyes are useless if your body can't keep up, so stop whining and get up." T-Sung recalls, no matter how fast he is, he's slow compared to Master's fists. Sharpen your senses, don't waste the technique. As Raptor strikes back to back, T-Sung dodges gracefully, jumping, stabbing, and weaving between attacks. Finally, T-Sung fires a precise strike. Raptor shouts, "No way, he dodged everything. What kind of condition is this bastard in?" T-Sung extends his weapon, now seeing the truth, "You're slow." His strike lands on Raptor's head, breaking teeth and bloating his mouth. T-Sung says farewell, and the screen flashes. Survival battle remaining participant, 1 person, you won the survival battle. The notification hit, your character has died, and immediately messages from Raptor followers flooded in, attacking the Raptor. Frustrated, Raptor yanked off the VR headset and shouted in anger, throwing it aside, cursing that he'd lost to such an opponent and vowing revenge. Back in the game, a new notification declared only 1 participant remaining, naming T-Sung the winner of the first battle. He thought the fight had been brutal and admitted that if his opponent had been at full strength, he might have lost. Then a faint green glow caught his eye. The most valuable item, a mythical necklace, had dropped. Gripping it, he laughed, realizing its worth could rival a whole building in Gangnam, debating briefly whether to use it. Suddenly voices echoed as an airship descended nearby. Elite guards emerged, followed by a commanding figure, Baron, who announced himself as the representative of His Majesty Imperial Stukart of the Grand Empire Mauritian, congratulating T-Sung on his victory. T-Sung bowed, and Baron unrolled a scroll, declaring he would deliver the Emperor's decree and urging him to listen carefully. As Baron spoke, T-Sung thought it was really over. He'd won the survival competition. It felt exaggerated to credit Ji-Honor entirely, yet he was grateful. Why was Ji-Honor helping him so much? Could there be some strange feeling involved? Shivering, T-Sung tried to stay composed. Baron noticed and asked what was wrong. T-Sung muttered it was just cold. Baron smiled, guessing he was starting to relax, and reassured him it would be over soon. Reading the scroll, Baron announced that the Empire recognized T-Sung and the Dominion of the Proatan region, appointing him as Sagfried von Prau. The notification changed his nickname, and a faint golden glow of a cape and crown appeared on him. Another notification declared he had earned the title King of Survival, ruler of Proatan. T-Sung wondered what that really meant. Baron said, "Your Highness is now officially the ruler of the Proatan kingdom." T-Sung admitted feeling embarrassed being treated like a king. Baron laughed, suggesting it was because he hadn't gotten used to it yet, then warned it was better to keep this fortune to himself due to concerns about authority and tournament fairness. T-Sung agreed, thinking the organization had anticipated his crash landing, and was glad it went smoothly. Baron handed him an elixir of proof, the mystical elixir that removes the aura of self-destruction and purifies it, a reward from His Majesty. T-Sung held the elixir, thinking since he was no longer affected by the aura, he didn't need it, though perhaps a time would come when he would. 3 days after the competition, a boy dug at a construction site while 2 men shouted at him to hurry. He apologized and tried to work faster. One elder man muttered in annoyance, "Why push him so hard?" The boy was already struggling to pay for his mother's surgery. The other shrugged, "Everyone has their own story. Everyone must do their job properly." The boy's phone rang, and he answered. One man barked at him for answering during work hours. but the call revealed an anonymous bone marrow donation had been made for him. Shocked, the boy realized it was from Taesung, the one he had bragged about during the tournament. Tears streamed down his face as he thanked the donor, threw off his construction cap, and ran to the hospital to sign the papers. Watching him, the men sighed, realizing they had pushed too hard. Later, the boy sped off in a car while Cheon and Taesung sat nearby drinking juice. Cheon teased, satisfied now with basement life and helping a stranger? Taesung shot back, "You're the one checking donation details, aren't you? And anyway, I'm planning to leave this basement soon." Cheon laughed, "So you've had a status upgrade." Taesung smirked, "Plenty of valuable items in the resurrected area. If he had farmed longer, he could have bought a penthouse instead of an official teller." Cheon grinned, "Wait a minute, with that much money, shouldn't you do something for me? I haven't properly used my strength for a month helping you." Taesung chuckled, "I bought you banana milk, just kidding. I owe you a lot and will definitely repay you. Thanks to you I won." Cheon waved it off, "Don't mention it. But I have a question, you didn't use your debuff during the final fight with Raptor. Any reason?" Taesung said debuffs are useless once he's out of range, and the same pattern wouldn't work on him. Even if it had, I didn't want to use it on someone already exhausted. Cheon smirked, "Perhaps your last shred of conscience?" Taesung grinned, "By the way, I wonder how the geniuses react now that Raptor is dead, especially Chai Hyung-suk." At Genesis headquarters, the gathered team watched as their leader spoke, so Raptor lost to a mere level 50. One man stammered, "Sorry, Raptor was careless. He was killed by a level 50 because he underestimated him." The leader placed a hand on the man's shoulder. "You pushed this project forward, right?" Then he swiftly cut the man's neck. Tension gripped everyone as the leader commanded, "Find out who killed Raptor and where he lives, immediately." His name was Desire. Inside the building, Taesung stood with workers carrying boxes and said, "Handle the capsule carefully." One man glanced around, "Wow, you live alone in such a nice place. Young, in business or crypto?" Taesung shook his head, "No, just made some money from gaming." The man laughed, "Oh, BMW. My son plays that all the time." After putting everything in place, a worker said, "I'll send the remaining payment early, be careful." Another added, "Call me if you need anything." As they left, Taesung's worker muttered, "My social status is rising. Months ago, I couldn't have dreamed of this. Thanks to the rare items from the tournament, debts are gone, nice place secured. I owe that captain I cursed earlier. Now that's settled, should I find Harvard's legacy on the deserted island south of Nuremberg?" Hamji floated on a leaf. "Wow, such a beautiful day, pure relaxation." Taesung called, "Hey, if you don't hurry, I'm leaving." Hamji teased, "Let's play a bit more." Taesung frowned, "We're not here to play." Hamji swam over, "No sense of romance, master." Taesung thought, "Finally here at the treasure spot, but something feels off. No magic, no monsters, just unsettling silence." The screen flickered, and Taesung noticed the inventory acting on its own. A golden glowing map emerged. Hamji gasped, "It's flying in the sky." Taesung thought, "Does it want us to follow it?" He grabbed Hamji's hand, "Hold on," and ran toward the map, which led them into a dark cave. Taesung thought, "The legacy must be inside this cave, he can sense faint magic. Suspicious. Hamji, wait here, I'll be right back." Hamji sat at the entrance. "Okay, got it, I'll guard the entrance." Taesung moved inside and stopped where the word M glowed on the wall, the map revolving there. "Found it, Harvard's legacy," he muttered, "the faint magic came from it." In the middle of the cave floated the Staff of God, a mythic artifact capable of flying through the upper atmosphere and dropping at any chosen location. "This is insane," he thought, "practically a nuclear bomb," but his eyes widened at the 1-hour cooldown. What the hell? Such a brutal, straightforward skill, it doesn't match Harvard's usual aesthetic. Might as well take it. As he grasped the staff, a notification appeared. "You have acquired the Staff of God." The staff recognized you as its master and began bonding. Energy burst around him, revolving, thickening his body. Could this place be a dungeon? Suddenly, liquid fell from above, and he stood on a large chunk of snow. A laughing voice echoed, "Is it you, the bred to inherit my legacy?" Taesung spun toward it. "Who are you? Where am I?" The man leaped down. "This is a memory implanted in the Staff of God. Everything you see is an illusion." "Then you must be," Taesung said. "Yes, I am Harvard, the blacksmith of death," the man replied. Taesung raised an eyebrow. "I thought you'd be a dwarf since you're a blacksmith." But you're an orc. Dwarf? Do not compare me to those insignificant creatures. I am far superior, Harvard snapped. T-Sung thought, shorter than I expected. Anyway, welcome, you who will inherit my legacy, Harvard said. T-Sung said, legacy? What do you mean? I just came for the masterpiece you made. Harvard replied, unfortunately, it's incomplete, and I am already dead. You must finish the staff and fulfill my unfulfilled vision. T-Sung thought, after all that trouble, it's incomplete? Anger surged. Master Shikiro spent his life searching for this legendary legacy only for it to be unfinished. He threw the staff to the ground, shouting, Stop it! What are you doing, you dumb bread? I made you the staff's owner. Don't treat my masterpiece carelessly. T-Sung said, it's mine now, what's the problem? A notification confirmed the staff recognized him as its owner. See? Even it acknowledges me. Should I throw it away? Harvard yelled, are you insane? You're no longer qualified to hold it. T-Sung pressed, should I? Harvard stammered, wait, just calm down. My beautiful creation hates being dirty. T-Sung said, then let's not make it uncomfortable. Good, now we can talk properly. So, how do I complete this? Harvard said, to finish the staff, you must first hear my story from long ago. Harvard began, long ago I wanted to create the ultimate weapon of death. That's when I heard the vision of the staff tied to the punishment, a power of the Lord of Chaos. T-Sung shouted, I don't care about that. How do I complete the staff? Harvard said, calm down, here, take this. He handed a blueprint, warning, just because there's a blueprint doesn't mean anyone can make it. The blacksmith must be at least Grandmaster level. Usually only one exists per era, but you can find one. T-Sung said, finding a blacksmith shouldn't be hard. Harvard said, the problem isn't the creator. Look at the next chapter. T-Sung saw a list of required ingredients and shouted, are you kidding me? How am I supposed to collect all these? Harvard said, yes, they're difficult to obtain. T-Sung cut him off, this isn't just hard, it doesn't make sense. I'm giving up on completing the staff, it's impossible. Harvard began crying, I understand, it's too much to ask. I should have started earlier, I wasn't meant to die. T-Sung asked, so why did you die so quickly? Harvard said, can't you at least pretend to sympathize? T-Sung put the staff in his inventory, sorry, I'm not that kind of person. Harvard said, alright, just don't be too discouraged. T-Sung thought, a legendary blacksmith reduced to this. Harvard asked, so will you make it? T-Sung said, it's impossible right now. Gathering these materials could take a lifetime. But I'll keep getting stronger, then I might be able to obtain them. Please be patient, if you're bored, pick up another hobby. Harvard said, advice from a rookie, yet I still have a long way to go. Thank you, rookie, no, the honor of the staff. He tossed a potion, you still need to grow, so this will help. It's a potion of rampage, boosting experience gain by 70% for a week. But if you don't grow enough, you'll level down. The nameplate is mine. Show it at the main branch of the Bemirian workshop, and they'll sell any artifact at half price. T-Sung said, 50% off? Tempting. Harvard said, grow stronger and fulfill my dream. T-Sung said, I'll give it a try, thanks. Outside the cave, Hanji yawned, I'm bored. When is the master coming? T-Sung appeared, Hanji, did you wait long? Hanji said, hey master, took a while. Did you get his last words? T-Sung said, yes, but it's unfinished. Now that urgent matters are mostly done, let's level up and catch up. Hanji groaned, hunting is boring. Suddenly, a notification appeared, citizens of Broughton Kingdom are waiting. Take the role of the new king. T-Sung glimpsed it, right, still left. On the western forest path of Praton region, T-Sung muttered, no gateway here. I finally thought I could level up, but now I'm supposed to govern a kingdom? Are the people responsible for my XP losses? This damn village is so dirty. He grew increasingly angry. Hanji said, Master, stop being so annoying. Your irritation will spread to me too. T-Sung shouted, are you seriously telling me not to be annoyed? Do you know how much time I wasted, from the survival battle to the unfinished posthumous work? Hanji said, still, if you rule the kingdom well, you may get a good reward. What a wonderful king it is to be a country's ruler. T-Sung said, they never mentioned a reward, and I never wanted to be king. In BNW, anything kingdom-related is full of trouble, so I'll ignore it and only take what I need later. Then the BNW notification appeared, the Rotten Kingdom is waiting. T-Sung shouted, I'm already on my way, damn it. Hamji clung to T-sun's cloak. T-sun said, "You really don't get it. The Imperial offered an entire kingdom as the prize. It's too much for an adventurer." "What's the point of giving me a kingdom?" Hamji asked. "What are you staring at so intently?" T-sun said, "Hamji, have you gotten heavier? Gained some weight?" Hamji shouted, "Wait, are you seriously saying that?" "I take good care of my body." T-sun said, "Just eating without managing isn't enough. Maybe it's time to graduate from being carried on my shoulders. Try walking on your own." Hamji shouted, "No, don't take away my sanctuary." A huge voice erupted, and T-sun immediately went alert. "That's the scream of a beautiful woman in danger, 200 meters ahead." Hamji pointed, "It's time to move." T-sun said, "Screams like that near the kingdom? Suspicious." They approached two men holding a struggling girl. One man sneered, "Why resist instead of surrendering quietly? This cute little thing looks valuable. Sell her for 1,000 gold?" The girl cried, "Please, someone save me." The man laughed, "Do you think we'd kill a valuable asset like you? Resist no more and follow quietly. You could scream for 1,000,000 days. No one will come." The other man added, "These screams are exciting too, right?" T-sun activated Quick Draw, striking the first man's head. He was thrown far, dead instantly. The second man shouted, "He killed him with one blow. You bastard, do you know who you're messing with?" Sparks flared from T-sun as he said, "I know you're just pathetic game criminals. Time for a lesson." The man clenched his fists, "Who are you, bastard?" T-sun said, "I'm affiliated with, well, I'm here." Hamji interjected, "He's the landowner." The girl asked, "What landowner?" The man hesitated, "Wait. I thought you looked familiar." "No way, you beat a raptor in the survival battle." He threw a stone, then a hat to distract T-sun. T-sun shrugged, recognition's too late. He struck, and the man fell dead. T-sun said, "Even this pest recognized me. Everything okay over there?" Hamji guided the girl, "We took them all out, don't worry." She breathed, "Thank you for saving me." T-sun approached the girl, "Look at this, you haven't done anything, little rascal." He glanced at Hamzi. Hamzi replied, "I was still taking care of the elf girl." The girl said, "My name's Natasha, I'm an elf from the nearby forest. May I know your names?" T-sun said, "I'm T-sun Van Preo, this little fellow is Hamzi." Natasha asked, "Is that last name for rulers of the territory? So, you're the landowner?" T-sun laughed, "Yes, it turned out that way." She said, "But the last human king here was 200 years ago." T-sun shouted, "What? 200? Natasha continued, "What you saw earlier isn't the first time something like this happened. Most of my people were almost captured the same way. This place has a lot of problems." He said, "First, I'll take you to your residence. It's not far, right?" She said, "It's fine." He added, "I like to take you there and hear your story, understand what's going on here." As they walk on to the forest, at a certain point, Natasha said, "King of humans, from here on I shall return alone." And he said, T-sun said, "Are you sure I am okay with going with you?" She said, "Just a little further and I will reach my village." "It's safe now." She said, "That's a relief." She said, "And could you please give me your hand for a moment?" She put something on his hand, saying, "This is my mother's keepsake. Please accept it. It was our maternal love flower ring." T-sun said, "I cannot accept this. I am an adventurer from the another world. Even if I die, I will be revived. But Natasha, you only have one life. Besides, this is your mother's precious keepsake." She said, "My mother told me before she passed, that whatever favor you receive, repay it double. You have already saved my life. Please accept it." He said, "That's the case. I understand." She said, "Then I will be on my way. Also, thanks for coming to save the land." She said, "May your future be filled with only hope and glory." And with that, she waved toward him and started going. He said, "I do not feel very uncomfortable." In several battles, in survival battles, the men dropped his mother's ring. Natasha gave him a maternal love flower ring, and somehow he ended up collecting the full filial son and daughter set. Hamji asked, "Master, what will you do now?" According to Natasha, this is a completely ruined country. T-sun said, "I know this land has more problems than I thought. Ferocious monsters, ancient dungeons, elf hunters, barbarian tribes, even rumors of a nearby vampire lord demanding humans as tribute. The imperial government knew all this, yet sent me here. This isn't a reward, they're passing me a place no one could manage. That's why the king's position weakened for 200 years. Hanji said, I expect a lot of trouble in the kingdom. T-Sung added, but looking differently, Natasha gave me her most precious item without hesitation. Hardship in the kingdom won't be worse than that. Hanji said, I still think trouble is inevitable. T-Sung nodded, okay, I've decided. I'll try to act like a proper king. At Sessen Castle in the Proatan region, the guards yawned, complaining about slow time and boredom. One asked, any interesting stories? Another said, not a chance, no outsiders, no ants, just naps. Suddenly, T-Sung and Hanji approached. The guards shouted, who are you? Identify yourselves. T-Sung coughed, everyone's having a hard time, but as you may have heard, I'm the newly appointed king. The guards exchanged glances, did he say king? T-Sung said, you heard right, I'm the new king. The guards laughed, that young dude's lost it. Hanji shouted in support, and one guard muttered, what's wrong with that little fat rat? Hanji fumed. T-Sung said, it might be hard to believe, but it's true. Not long ago I won the imperial tournament, and was rewarded a kingdom. First, check this letter of appointment and royal decree. The man peers through the paper, squinting, sorry, I can't see this well from here. When his eyes scanned the document, both widened in shock, oh really, it's truly an imperial decree. Addicted to the empire's authority, he fell to his knees, apologizing for committing a mortal sin. Then, tearing the paper in half, he snapped, hey kid, I don't know where you learned this scam, but you're wrong. Do you know who we hate most? The imperial. We never heard anything from our superior. Even if what you say is true, we don't recognize either the empire or you. So get lost while I'm still being nice. T-Sung said, this isn't working, we're not communicating. Bring your superior forward while I'm being polite. The men and guards shouted and thrust their stealth staffs at him. T-Sung dodged effortlessly, striking both with his spears, shall I straighten out this rotten kingdom a bit? As he broke through the castle doors, more guards poured in, intruders. But T-Sung handled them all, muttering, no wonder this country is in such a state. Among them, the leader groaned, he's driving me crazy. T-Sung thought, he looks like an adventurer from another world, but why here? Does he bear a grudge? The guards shouted, Lord Ronin, will be annihilated before we can stop him. Ronin bellowed, kill him, by any means. More guards charged, and T-Sung glitched, no, their morale spiked for no reason, should I wipe them all with a debuff? He prepared the attack, but suddenly a woman rushed forward with immense power. That last strike was dangerous, she must be their leader. She shouted, how dare you attack our kingdom? Ready to die? Her name was Oscar, level 101. A girl named Oscar charged at T-Sung, how dare you attack our pro-king? Ready to face the consequences? T-Sung thought, that killing intent, she's far beyond the regular soldiers. I'd love a fight with her, but should I clear up the misunderstanding first? Hanji shouted, you're seriously wrong. We're clearly the victims. They threw the first punch, so why act innocent? Oscar glanced at a hamster in amaze, and the robin shouted, Miss Oscar, don't believe these monsters. They breached the gates first and attacked the soldiers. We are intruders only in their story. T-Sung considered, shall I kill that one first? Then he shouted, this is my misunderstanding. I was appointed by the king of Poro through the imperial, but the guards mocked me, tore my letter, and attacked first. I only defended myself. Oscar said, that's an exaggeration. If it's true, show me the appointment letter. He said I had one, but the foolish guards destroyed it. She nodded, I understand. I'll verify with communication magic immediately, though she pointed her sword at him, if you lie, I'll behead you without mercy. He smirked, do as you wish. Meanwhile, inside the castle, a man and his servant walked through the halls. The man said, there's a lot of commotion outside. What's happening? The servant said, some crazy guy is causing trouble, claiming to be a new king. The man said, king? No, I didn't think he actually was. The servant asked, my lord, did you know about this? He replied, yes, the messenger arrived from the capital a few weeks ago. I didn't expect such a fuss over something so trivial. The servant said, how can you call this trivial? If it's true, it's a big deal. The man replied, just flatter him a bit, then kick him out, or kill him, though since he's from another world, that would be tricky. The servant protested, but the emperor personally appointed him. The man cut him off. Who are you serving right now? Have you already cited that fool? Hesitant, the servant said, no, lord. The man ascended the stairs, not just him, Pro will never need a new king. The palace's ruler is me, Count Bourbon, Lord of the Pro Kingdom. Call those fools tonight. There's a pest to deal with. Meanwhile, Oscar bowed. Your servant Oscar greets my lord. And all the army followed, kneeling, we greet our lord. Robin cried, Master, I've committed a grave sin. Oscar added, I accept punishment for my disrespect. T-Sung said, see, you should have believed me. Hanji whispered, were these the same people trying to kill us earlier? Disgusting, makes me want to puke. T-Sung thought something was seriously off with this kid. He said aloud, fine, I admit some mistakes too. Let's call it a misunderstanding. Everyone responded, thanks for your mercy. Robin thought, I'm alive, how can he be so generous? T-Sung added, but one condition, those guards must dance in the square in their underwear as repentance. And that curly-haired guy who ordered the attack joins too, right in the center. Robin shivered at the thought. Turning to Oscar, T-Sung said, since things are mostly settled, I'll head in now. Oscar replied, I will escort you, your highness. As they walked, T-Sung asked, who's in charge of the kingdom now? She answered, Count Bourbon, Lord of Pro's territory. T-Sung asked where he was, and she said likely inside the castle or in his quarters. She would guide him. He thought, he doesn't even know his own face amidst all this chaos. Well, I get it, he's been ruling as king until now. Crossing the bridge, she said, my lord, there's something to tell you. Just then, Bourbon came running, shouting, our king has finally arrived. It's an honor to see you, High King. T-Sung whispered to Oscar, do you also raise monsters in this castle? Bourbon apologized, but I heard everything, your highness. It's an honor to meet you. I am Bourbon, lord of this place. T-Sung said, I am T-Sung. I look forward to working with you. Bourbon said he heard the lowly soldiers failed to recognize T-Sung and acted disrespectfully. T-Sung raised a knob, and Bourbon said, I'll tear their limits apart and teach them a lesson. T-Sung replied they had enough reason to be mistaken, no need to worry. Bourbon nodded, moved by his generosity, and invited him to enjoy the feast prepared for his highness. T-Sung joked he hoped there were some nuts too. Oscar stood silently as they went. Later, after eating like a fool, T-Sung, full, returned to his bedroom with Hamji. Hamji said, how long has it been since I had such a feast? T-Sung thought giving a guest room to a king was excessive. Hamji remarked, hey master, this bed's soft. T-Sung said, hold on, I have things to do. He pulled up a report detailing Proiden's state. Barren terrain, low population, poor infrastructure, hardly anyone capable except Oscar. The kingdom was rotting from inside out, and the people resented the emperor for knowing yet doing nothing. Fortunately, 3 years remained for territorial protection, so no immediate invasion threat. Still, there was a mountain of work ahead. After the coronation, he'd begin cleaning nearby territories. Suddenly, a notification popped up, quick draw activating, someone invaded. T-Sung's weapon surged toward Oscar, who leapt to the gallery and dodged. He said, you are Miss Oscar? Why are you here? T-Sung looked at her, asking why she was here, and Hanji muttered, I told you, the way she eyed me was suspicious. T-Sung pressed, what brings you here at this hour? Oscar bowed, apologizing for the secret visit, saying she had something urgent. T-Sung noticed her bleeding hand and asked, that's bad, is there no one to treat it? Hanji snapped, healing remedies, now? T-Sung pulled his infinite bag, pouring out medicine and potions. I'll keep plenty on hand from now on, tell me if you get hurt. He bandaged her, and she thanked him. T-Sung frowned, oh dear, this is a bad wound. She waved it off, for one night, it's nothing. He scolded gently, even heroes feel pain. So, what urgent matter brings you here? Oscar said, Your Majesty, you truly wish to become King of Prao. T-Sung asked, what do you mean? She explained no one has ruled this land for 200 years and a half-hearted attitude won't suffice. She might sound presumptuous, but she must speak her mind. Please leave if unwilling. T-Sung interjected, I apologize, but why are you holding Hamji? She blushed, mumbling she'd been captivated by Hamji's charm, coughing, anyway, as a knight I dare not say more. T-Sung cut in, Sir, Miss Oscar, I do not understand your concerns. Oscar said, Your Majesty, don't worry. This land belongs to me now, there will be no half-hearted rule. I promise sincerely. T-Sung asked, do you really mean that? She nodded, of course. He pressed, if there's no lie, then it's clear. She smiled faintly, and that's true. Shouldn't you believe me by now? She bowed, apologies, Your Majesty, the master doesn't seem very truthful. She continued, all right, now to the point. Count Bourbon, be careful. T-Sung raised an eyebrow. You mean that big pig from earlier? She explained, Count Bourbon. I don't like him either, but I was his subordinate until yesterday. That's why I must warn you about someone you know little of. She detailed. I disrupted Count Bourbon from the start. My loyalty is only to this land. He exploits people with high taxes and trades elves with adventurers. Originally a competent official in a corrupt government, his evil deeds worsened, so he was sent to the Pro territory. There, he solidified power through deals with elf hunters, monsters cleared in exchange for hunting elves, and recently skimmed taxes to them, sacrificing locals monthly under the guise of vampire attacks. T-Sung said sharply, I understand how quickly we must deal with the source of all this evil, Count Bourbon. She warned, Your Majesty, it's not that simple. Despite his corruption, public opinion is not fully against him. Punishing him now could trigger backlash from officials and citizens alike. T-Sung asked, Do you really think public security is maintained because Bourbon sacrifices people to a vampire lord? She said, That's exactly what I'm saying. He cut her off. I understand you suggest resisting step by step, but what should we do? I act first and worry later, and to save this land, we must catch Bourbon. Meanwhile, a group of men ate as Bourbon negotiated with the Elf Hunter Guild at Cali Steel Peak. Bourbon asked how much they wanted. 5,000, they said, needing an extra 5,000 gold. Bourbon snapped, Do you think we have money to spare? We've had a good run, but you're crossing the limit. A hunter protested, Our mission was extermination, not piling more work. Isn't 5,000 already cheap? You make the table uncomfortable. Suddenly, someone knocked the door violently. Bourbon shouted, What's going on outside? The door shook, starting to crack. T-Sung was outside, thinking, Damn, they're tough. He kicked the door open and stepped in. Wow, how could you eat again after the feast we had? Bourbon flinched, Your Majesty. T-Sung added, By the way, Sir Batista kept blocking the door with excuses. There's no one more loyal than him. How could we catch the scene so quickly? Bourbon stammered, Your Majesty. T-Sung said, Let's have a talk, shall we? Majesty, I'll explain everything. T-Sung pressed, Why are you with the elf hunters, and in my castle? Bourbon turned to the hunters with a wink, laughing, They're all old friends. Just a reunion after a long time. The hunters groaned, Don't wink, Count, it's disgusting. Everyone already knows anyway. Can't believe this kid is the new king. T-Sung snapped, Hey, punks, shut up. Adults are talking. The hunters shouted, This jerk's crazy. Before they could react, T-Sung struck, shouting Big Bro. T-Sung called, Count Bourbon, come here. Bourbon stayed seated. Could you just say it from over there? T-Sung warned, People should look at each other when talking. Bourbon refused, I'm fine. T-Sung said, Then I'll come to you, and shot forward, slamming Bourbon's head to the ground. You're sentenced to death for operating immigrants, bribery, corruption, and offering people as sacrifices. Bourbon spat, You're so naive, Your Majesty. Don't be hypocritical. Sacrifice was necessary to save the cursed land. How can there be peace without it? Do you even understand this world, you adventurer from another realm? Damn you, damn you! He grabbed a plate and hurled it at T-Sung, blood spraying as T-Sung's eyes widened. T-Sung said, So it was the sacrifice of the few for the greater good. Don't worry, I'll protect everything without sacrifice. Watch and learn well in hell. He struck Bourbon with a single blow. Oscar burst in, Your Majesty. Seeing him finish, she thought he did it. Hamji reassured, Don't worry, Miss Oscar. Even if he seems reckless, there's a plan. Is there really? She reminded herself to trust him. He believed me and executed the count without hesitation. I must protect His Majesty. From the side, a hunter hurled a spear at T-Sung. Oscar intercepted it. Sorry for being late, Your Majesty. He said, Your kick's no joke? She replied, Sorry, I didn't bring a sword. He handed her his great sword. This is all you need. You know how to use it, right? She nodded. He said, No taking it slow anymore. She answered, Yes, Your Majesty. Let's clean them out. Another hunter leapt to attack. T-Sung said, I cannot stand seeing filth roaming my house. Holding the sword, Oscar said, I will follow your command, and in a few minutes she cut them all to pieces. Watching, T-Sung thought, Even with the great sword, her speed might surpass mine. Suddenly, a monster attacked from behind, throwing Oscar into fire. The hunter's leader shouted, Not only did you kill our cash cow, but you destroyed my subordinate. Brother Kyanryang will hear about this. Since it's come to this, I'll kill everyone. He was Cheonbong, level 85. Oscar thought he's strong, on a different level from ordinary weaklings. She shouted, Your Majesty, please step back, I'll handle this trash. T-Sung said, No, I'll take care of it myself. She hesitated, but he ordered, Stay still. Cheonbong sneered, a low-level weakling like this trying to act tough. T-Sung retorted, Why don't you wipe your nosebleed first, high-level bastard? Cheonbong growled, Arrogant bastard, this won't end with just a nosebleed, crush them. The monster obeyed his command. T-Sung extended his hand, unleashing a devastating strike that instantly destroyed the beast. Cheonbong gasped, What am I seeing? My monster, gone in one hit by a low-level bastard. T-Sung said, Is it my turn now? Cheonbong's roar erupted so loudly it could be heard outside the castle. Adventure from another world or player, they process the runes of trans-Indians that the NPCs do not. NPCs has no concept or awareness of level, but by detecting the target mana, it's possible for them to determine one's scale of strength. That's why Oscar was feeling confused by her own senses. She was looking towards the body of Cheonbong, which was like disappearing, thinking that adventurer should have been stronger than His Majesty. How on earth did he win and with one hit? Am I mistaken or what? Is His Majesty power so powerful that it can deceive my senses? T-Sung said, Are you okay? She said, Yes, Majesty. He said, I do not think you are okay. She said, What do you mean? He said, Here, look at you. He holds her hand saying it's bleeding again. The wound reopened from the impact earlier. She said, This is nothing but harm. Harm came with a bandage saying it's because the master did not protect you properly. T-Sung said, Is it my fault? But she said, No, it's my job to protect you. I have caused your Majesty trouble again. Let me check if there are any more remnants outside. He said, No, Oscar, I do like to ask you to do something else. Please convene an emergency meeting right now. She said, Right now? He said, Since we have already made a mess, we need to clean it up now. Inside the castle, the King Hall, the people were gathered. One of them said, An emergency meeting in the middle of the night. What on earth is going on? The other said, That's what I am saying. It's nothing. It's only been half a day since the new king took office. It seemed to me that he is doing his best to maintain discipline. He is a young adventurer, right? Suddenly became a king. Must be exciting. Oh dear, let's just smooth things over a bit, but I do not see count. Just then, T-Sung, in like a full king attire, came in. The announcement began, His Majesty has arrived. Everyone was shocked looking at T-Sung. T-Sung walked with authority through the carpet towards his throne, looking at his eye, which had blood on it. They thought, Is he wounded? T-Sung recalled his master's words, This is the most basic of basics. True strength shows even in a walk. Shoulders back, abs taut like a bowstring, eyes furious yet composed, discipline in every step. He moved forward with that in mind when a sudden notification appeared. Sit on the throne, a quest has appeared. A quest tied to the title ruler of Proaten? The title seemed minor, but he wondered what options it held. Sitting, a burst of energy surged as the force of the Lord activated, and a notification announced an added ability, a powerful home advantage within the region, leveling up once every day. His eyes widened. This was insane, leveling up just by breathing. Another warning appeared, body overload possible from the force of the Lord. T-Sung braced himself, thinking it couldn't be the usual cliché of enduring the crown's weight, but the pain struck immediately, forcing him to grit his teeth. Damn those bastards, why can't they make this simple? He muttered, then resolved, Fine, if it's the crown's weight, I accept it. His level surged intensely until he hit 60, the room erupting in a huge burst of energy, leaving onlookers in awe at the astonishing display. As the dust settled, T-Sung stood shirtless, a red energy crown hovering above his head and his cape flowing behind him. Clenching his fists, he felt more energetic than ever, yet the immense power threatened to make him explode. A notification blinked, new skills available. Did I unlock something new at level 60? He wondered, cautiously checking for a debuff or the force of the Lord. The crowd murmured in awe, whispering whether this was dream or reality, astonished to witness the legendary force of the Lord. T-Sung reflected, Is it really that powerful? Hanji turned to Oscar, asking what it meant. She explained it was an ancient spell inscribed by wizards to empower rulers of harsh lands, dormant for 200 years, now recognizing T-Sung as the vessel of the Lord. Congratulations, Your Majesty, you are the true ruler, she added. T-Sung smirked, true ruler, not bad at all. Then he noticed a man sketching him shirtless, declaring that this historic moment must be recorded. Putting his clothes back on, T-Sung greeted the crowd, saying, "Nice to meet you all, my name is T-Sung." T-Sung addressed the gathered crowd, announcing that as of today, he had been appointed king of the Proton region and apologized for the late summons, though everyone was mesmerized and paid no mind. Feeling the force of the Lord's effect, he declared that the former ruler, the previous lord of the territory, had just been executed for exploiting his position to commit crimes, offering citizens as sacrifices to the vampire lord. "I will never compromise or negotiate," he said, questioning how long public order could persist under such oppression. A man protested that this might be extreme, but T-Sung replied that while it might be difficult at first, he could not allow crime to run unchecked and would personally restore stability. He turned to Oscar, appointing him commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and Oscar immediately pledged to follow orders. T-Sung then issued a general mobilization, commanding all troops to gather within 3 hours with the mission to exterminate trash. In the mountains of the Proton region, at the Elf Hunter Fortress, workers froze as screams announced Bourbon's death, along with Mac Hoon and the others who had entered the castle. The boss seethed, suspecting Oscar, the damned woman, had allied with the new king to kill Bourbon, even though the Heavenly Peak Guild Master was level 100. One man asked what to do, noting their suppliers were in a frenzy, and the boss ordered the slave traders to eliminate the elves and gather skilled fighters, declaring it was time to take over the Preo Kingdom. Suddenly, a massive blast erupted outside their tent as the kingdom's army descended, slaughtering them one by one. Above, T-Sung and Oscar watched. She noted the surprise attack had succeeded, and he said everyone should be asleep, likely confused, though their soldiers fought better than expected. She explained the regular Pro Army's rigorous training and combat experience made them superior to other territories' troops, while he recalled they hadn't seemed so strong before. Down below, heavenly dragons shouted defiantly, but it was over for them. T-Sung remarked that praising the soldiers made the enemy crumble instantly. Oscar noted the difference in artifacts and growth and offered to step in to finish it, but he dismissed her, letting the soldiers handle it themselves. She protested, warning that even if they won, the battle would cause heavy damage, but he replied that if they couldn't dominate, they just needed to make it so they could. With a snap of his fingers, he unleashed Faith's End and Iron Weakness, spreading debuffs across the battleground. Guild members screamed, struggling against their own weakness, yelling that even a single hit could be fatal and urging each other to flee, while soldiers pressed the attack. T-Sung thought that if all enemies were gathered, he'd gain experience points. Oscar asked what the skill was, and he explained it was a technique from his master to weaken foes, noting the elf hunters would now be far weaker than soldiers. She praised him, impressed by his decisiveness. Suddenly, the boss of the Heavenly Dragon clan arrived, sending soldiers flying with wind pressure. The guild members laughed, mocking the soldiers and declaring the boss's arrival meant death for everyone. The boss laughed, taunting the king to stop using cheap debuffs and fight, while Oscar warned that he was the Heavenly Dragon and leader of the elf hunters, offering to handle him. T-Sung refused to back down, saying after that shout, he had to face him, and even if he died, he would return. His duty was to protect his people. He took off his cloak, telling Oscar not to die, then leapt from the cliff. Oscar froze, worried, as the boss yelled for them to come out. Suddenly, T-Sung appeared, launching a lightning spear at the boss and mine. The boss gritted his teeth and blocked it with his weapon, but T-Sung pressed on, activating Heaven Breath and firing again. The boss leapt to block with his long staff, gritting his teeth, struggling under the electric shock. T-Sung struck again, smashing him into the ground. The boss groaned about his face, and T-Sung snapped that they should have fought properly between leaders earlier, and that he was about to beat him thoroughly. T-Sung said, "Everyone step back, I'll handle this." The soldiers obeyed. The man shouted, "How dare you do that to my brother?" and leapt at T-Sung, but Oscar intercepted with her sword, pushing him back, saying, "This isn't someone you can address casually, I'll deal with you." T-Sung said, "Then I leave this to you, Oscar." She replied, "Yes, your majesty." T-Sung turned to the boss, saying, "How long will you lie down? I gave you plenty of time to recover." The boss sipped a green potion, muttering, "Damn, this is embarrassing. Not bad for a low-level player. Looks like you didn't win the survival battle by luck." T-Sung shot back, acting tough when you were on the brink of losing. The man stood, red energy flaring, saying, "I heard the boy who beat Raptor and won the tournament uses debuff. Was that area debuff earlier? T-Sung asked. What's your point? The man roared, don't get cocky over luck with the short kid, I won't let you off, and activated bar circle. T-Sung thought, is he countering the debuff with physical enhancement? I'll play along, and when the man leapt, T-Sung raised a shield to block the attack, tanking the force. T-Sung unleashed Heaven's Wrath, lightning surging toward the men, who were pushed back. He scoffed, that was a speed-type skill before, did you really think it would work twice, kid? He lunged again with immense force. T-Sung thought, immunity to status effects, no wonder he was so confident. Cooldown for Scorn of the Strong is still active, should I attack with no attribute debuff or try something else? The man leapt from behind, shouting, looks like you still have time to be distracted, how about this? T-Sung spun just in time, blocking the powerful blood slash. The man laughed, this is my strongest skill, the more you bleed, the stronger it gets. T-Sung's shield split in half, throwing him back, and Oscar, distracted, saw the man leap at her, taunting, what will you do while your king is about to die? Balls charged at T-Sung, shouting, hey rookie, too young and clueless, I'll teach you. Proud territory is cursed, barbarians, empire lords, corrupted officials storm from all directions. Think you can handle it alone? Impossible, piece of shit. This land is the worst, even its empire abandons it. Hand it over while I'm still being nice or get lost. Stay and play house if you want. T-Sung replied, are you done? You've yapped enough, I already grasped the situation. The land is vast and troublesome, but someone must take responsibility. The man sneered, I gave you a chance because you looked like my nephew, yet you still haven't come to your senses. Just get lost. The man lunged with a blurred slash, shouting, what? T-Sung activated his skill, bursting with energy and landing a massive kick on the man's face. The man stumbled back, thinking, what skill was that? Not just blurred slash, but bar sack too. I still have mana, could this be a bug? Then he realized he was under a spell, shouting, what is this? T-Sung said, seeing how surprised you are, the performance is definitely reliable. The man cursed, you bastard. T-Sung replied, so it was you behind this, controlling the interference wave to disrupt skill activation. The man yelled, you sneaky little brat, just using a cheap skill. T-Sung smirked, thanks for the compliment. Let me suggest something. Next time, don't even think of lingering in the land of hunting elves unless you want to be hunted the same way. The man shouted, you cocky little, but T-Sung cut him off, unleashing a Shikiro-style spear technique, piercing him with immense force, saying he just kept rambling till his death.